Chapter 1845. Thanks to Yi Tianyun's understanding, he finally understood the cruelty of the celestial pole ancestral land. In this world, it was not limited to the celestial pole ancestral land. There were many other ancestral lands. The ancestral lands here were actually a force, but they were called ancestral lands. The other ancestral lands were not so cruel. Perhaps they also kept a group of mortals in a circle to form a world, but at least they would not kill and kill. Instead, they would unify and manage them. After understanding it in detail, Yi Tianyun found that it was not a bad thing. In each ancestral land, there were trillions of lives, and many of them had poor talent. Therefore, they were all moved to a world with reduced effects and let them stay there to cultivate. When their cultivation improved, they would be promoted. If they were born in the ancestral land, it would hurt their confidence. The gap was too big, and they might as well stay in those low-level worlds. In the end, everything in these worlds was man-made. However, the planets inside were natural, not something a star venerate could create. To put it simply, a star venerate took a small planet outside the ancestral land and threw it into a world. After knowing the details, Yi Tianyun's favorable impression of the celestial pole ancestral land immediately changed to that of hatred. He already hated it, but now he hated it even more. After all, the other ancestral lands were not so cruel. Instead, they chose a more suitable area for them to cultivate. When outstanding disciples came up, they would be put in an important position. Here, they would be enslaved, and they would need military merits to exchange for their freedom. This situation occurred mainly because cultivators were divided into different ranks. There were also many mortals in the vast ancestral land. Even if the environment here was more comfortable, there were still many areas without dense spiritual energy, so their cultivation progress was naturally poor. To the celestial pole ancestral land, they were natives, born inferior. In fact, it was not only the celestial pole ancestral land. Many ancestral lands had the same idea. It was not surprising that they had this idea. Even in the Kaiyuan realm, they had this idea. Back then, Fan Yu was also discriminated against. It even extended to discrimination against humans. Yi Tianyun was not surprised by this. The winner was king, and the loser was in the wrong. He did not have the strength to resist, so he could only do so. Now, it was different. He didn't want his fate to be in the hands of others. Lord of the celestial terminus. Yi Tianyun's eyes darkened. The pressure had multiplied. He had just arrived, but he was already facing such a huge figure. The difference in their cultivations was huge. They were millions of times stronger than god emperors. If they knew that a small world had rebelled, they would definitely send out experts to annihilate them. At that time, the Kaiyuan world would definitely be in danger. The celestial terminus star lord absolutely would not allow anyone to disobey him. It could even be said that no lord would want their subordinates to rebel against them. I've said everything I need to say. It's time to let me go. Don't worry, I definitely won't say anything. I'll definitely keep it a secret for you, the guard hurriedly added. Yes, I've asked everything I need to. You can go now. Yi Tianyun threw the soul in his hand away. The guard hastily flew out. At the same time, he thought viciously in his heart, wait till this daddy escapes. How dare you destroy my physical body? When the time comes, I will kill all of you natives. Just as this thought popped up in his mind, a palm grabbed him and pinched him again. You! What are you doing? Didn't you say that you would let me go? The guard panicked. Yes, I already let you go, but now you're caught by me again. Yi Tianyun grinned. Now, you can die. You're shameless. Before the guard could finish his words, Yi Tianyun crushed his soul and completely disappeared from this world. There was no way Yi Tianyun would let this guard go. How could he believe their nonsense? If he let the guard go now, he would be completely blocked at the door in the next second. He wouldn't even be able to escape. Ding. Successfully killed the guard. Obtained 10-star energy points. Simple guard equipment set. Ding. System evolution complete. Starting official activation, activating appraisal eye, activating crazy mode. At this time, the system could be considered to have completed its upgrade. All aspects were officially activated. The data that could be seen in front of him immediately increased a lot, but there were also a lot of things that were also reduced. For example, the crazy mode, which originally could be increased by 128 times, was reduced to 12. 8 times in one go. This meant that it was reduced to 10% in one go. This effect, isn't it a bit too harsh? Yi Tianyun looked at the system after the upgrade and suddenly felt a bit speechless. But what is this star energy? Yi Tianyun checked and found that all the data was classified as one thing: star energy. Star energy can be regarded as experience, it can also be regarded as crazy point. It can be exchanged for almost anything. To put it bluntly, all the data was classified as one and shared. It wasn't as detailed as before, but it was simplified. However, after the upgrade, the system was empty, there was nothing inside. Originally, there were a lot of equipment sets in the Sin Mall, but now there was nothing. Divine skill, lottery system, fusion system, and so on, they were all gone. The system is in a state of half upgrade. I need to complete the main mission to fully upgrade and adapt to this world. When Yi Tianyun saw the line of description, he suddenly understood what was going on. He has always had a main mission, and that is to complete the unification of the Chaos Realm. The Chaos Realm is the world he is in. As for why it is called the Chaos Realm, he is not very clear. The reward for completing the mission is the system evolution in all aspect. It seems that at that time, the system will be complete. Now there are only one or two things that can be used, such as the shop to buy experience cards and so on, all of them are gone. It seems that I have to wait for the Chaos Realm to be unified before the rest can be officially activated. Yi Tianyun shook his head, he did not know that there was such a thing. It seems that there is a great difference in the realm, causing the system to be unable to operate, and it needs to evolve to adapt to this place. Fortunately, it is quite humane, can temporarily bring 2 divine skills, especially crazy mode. This is very important. Even if it is weakened by 10%, at least it can be used. Star energy, now can only be used to upgrade and crazy mode consumables. Chapter 1846. After the evolution of the system, not only did it convert into star energy, but also the sin points, crazy points, experience points, and so on. They didn't lose their effect immediately, but they were converted according to a certain ratio. After all the conversion, he found that he only had 43 points. 43 points plus 10 points of star energy from killing enemies, he had a total of 53 points. This meant that he could level up now, directly to the level of Star Apostle. However, he didn't do so. After all, if he used it, it would be empty immediately. If he used crazy mode, he really couldn't take out anything. With 50 points, I can level up to the level of Star Apostle. This is really a little different. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Star Apostle sounded very low level, not as domineering as God Emperor. But this was just the name of the world below. In this world, it was just an ordinary Star Apostle, which was the existence of a beginner. Of course, a beginner was much stronger than many of the original residents of this world. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been chosen. Immediately, he began to search the guard's treasury. There were piles of elixirs inside. If any one of them was thrown in the Kai Yuan world, it would cause a bloodbath. These elixirs were of the 8th and 9th grade, which were rare in the world below. What 10,000-year-old elixirs were extremely rare in the world below. Here, they could only be regarded as ordinary. Yi Tianyun didn't rush to go out. Instead, he explored here first. When he came above these teleportation arrays, he could feel the situation below. It was the same as the Chaos Realm he was in. There were many great worlds inside, but the attributes were different. However, it was largely the same, and they were all similar in form. With the management of the artifact spirit, they also fought and killed each other, and finally, the strongest God Emperor was selected to be promoted. However, he couldn't teleport in. He was restricted. This meant that he could only teleport out, but not in. In the end, he couldn't completely control the authority here. The authority here was not the teleportation array, but the entire palace. It was the condensation array in this palace that maintained these teleportation arrays. If he wanted to go back or enter other worlds, He must gain control of the palace. After the enhancement of the appraisal eye, he understood a little bit about this originally obscure array. Star pattern level 1 energy gathering array. Star pattern rank. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Although he didn't know what kind of array this was, he at least knew what level it was. This was known as the star pattern grade. Upon closer inspection, one would notice that the energy of a planet was flowing within it, forming an extremely integrated state. Such a grade was already out of his reach, unless he upgraded his ability in this aspect. However, the evolution of the system was not complete. It was a semi-finished product. As for leveling up in this aspect, it was still impossible, and the grade remained the same. As such, even if it could be used here, it would only be at the 9th grade Divine Sealing Master level. He might be able to display his strength in some ordinary forces, but it was impossible for him to break the star rune formation. Therefore, he could not enter other worlds, including his own world. Even if the artifact spirit died, it still wouldn't be able to enter. It was no wonder that the guard could only investigate the situation below, and could not go in directly. I wonder if the teleportation godstone can be used here? Skills couldn't be used, but the items were definitely still there. No matter what, these things belonged to him, not the systems. For example, the equipment could also be used here. Immediately, he took out the teleportation godstone and tried to use it to see if he could be teleported back. Unfortunately, after using it, there was no reaction at all. The teleportation godstone couldn't bring him back to the chaotic realm. It had no effect at all. I wonder if I can use it here. After setting the coordinates here, Yi Tianyun tried to use it again and found that it could still be used. This meant that he just couldn't pass through the layers of restrictions, but it wouldn't be ineffective forever. This was a very pleasant surprise for him. At least when he went out later, he could sneak back in without being noticed. If he couldn't use it, it would be a big loss. Let's go out and see what's going on outside. After stepping out of the door, Yi Tianyun saw a long corridor outside, and there was an exit at the end. Apart from that, there were no other exits, not even extra guards. He didn't know whether the celestial terminus ancestral land was too confident in itself or something else, but there were no extra guards here. He lifted his foot and walked out. As he passed through the long corridor, suddenly, a light surged from all directions and began to envelop him. Yi Tianyun was quickly enveloped, and then a brand was imprinted on his soul, wanting to leave a soul imprint on his soul. It's a slave imprint. Yi Tianyun was shocked. Although he hadn't seen this imprint before, he felt that it was definitely a slave imprint. As long as he was imprinted with this imprint, he would be a slave of the celestial terminus ancestral land. At that time, he wouldn't be able to resist the higher-ups. The rules of the celestial terminus ancestral land were the rules. When he wanted to resist, he found that he couldn't resist at all. This power was too strong, and it was far from what he could resist at his current level. I can't be imprinted with a slave imprint, absolutely not. He didn't want to be a slave here. He already hated the celestial terminus ancestral land. If he could move away from the chaotic realm, he would immediately leave this place. But he couldn't do that for the time being. At the same time, he didn't want to be a slave here. At that time, he wouldn't be able to do anything he wanted to do. For example, he wouldn't be able to leave the celestial terminus ancestral land even if he wanted to. As he struggled, the slave imprint slightly slowed down, but that was all. The powerful slave imprint still suppressed him and engulfed his soul consciousness. There were many layers of traps here, so how could it be easily resisted? The celestial terminus ancestral land had expected that the star apostles from below would be very arrogant and wouldn't obey. Or it could be said that they would obey on the surface, but in their hearts, they wouldn't obey. The soul imprint was especially important. Tie him up and see if he still wouldn't be convinced. It seems that I still can't resist in the end. Yi Tianyun felt a little helpless. Was he going to be controlled just like that? His heart was filled with unwillingness as he watched his soul being imprinted with a soul imprint. But the next moment, the five-colored emperor dragon in the center of his body suddenly started roaring, and an impact force surged out of his body and dispersed the imprint on his soul, causing it to disappear without a trace. Chapter 1847. This is amazing. This five-colored Emperor Dragon can even help me suppress my soul brand. Yi Tianyun felt a supreme power from the power released by the five-colored Emperor Dragon, but he could not tell what kind of power it was. In short, it was a power that was superior to this place, which had dispelled and suppressed the soul brand. Fortunately, I'm not controlled. Otherwise, it would be difficult for me to make a comeback. If he had been suppressed, it would have been difficult for him to find a solution quickly. According to the procedure here, he had to first obtain freedom and then exchange for his own world. The process required an astonishing amount of military merit. He did not know how long it would take for him to accumulate enough military merit points. By then, the death of the weapon spirit would probably be discovered. If he was lucky, he would not be discovered. However, he did not dare to take the risk. Therefore, he had to find a way to move his own world away now. After moving away, he would not have to worry about anything. However, if he wanted to move away now, he would have to destroy this palace. If he destroyed it, it would definitely attract attention, and he would not be able to leave easily. He would be breaking the rules, and the elites of the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land would definitely not allow it. If there were no rules, how would the other enslaved star apostles obey them? If there was an exception, many of their subordinates would definitely rebel. They just wanted to tie down the star apostles from below and make them work for them for the rest of their lives. First, they had to buy freedom, and then they had to buy their hometown. After completing these two tasks, they would have done many things for the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land. If they could really complete so many military merits and survive, the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land would be more than happy to return their hometown to them. While thinking about this, he had already stepped out of the passageway. He saw a circle of passageways, which were exactly the same as the one he had just come out of. Apart from the many doors in front of him that were different, the rest of the passageways looked almost the same. When he came out, there happened to be several cultivators coming out of several passageways in front of him. They were all of different races. Yi Tianyun looked up and used the appraisal eye to get the detailed information of the people around him. They are all early-stage star apostles, and the stronger ones are mid-stage star apostles. Yi Tianyun finally understood what was going on. There were thousands of worlds in this palace, and they were divided into many areas. Seeing their dejected looks, Yi Tianyun knew that they had been marked with slave marks. The high and mighty God Emperor was just a lowly star disciple here, an existence at the bottom. When they found out about this reality, they must have suffered a strong blow. All of you, hurry up and come over here. Don't delay. The guard standing in the central area roared in dissatisfaction, signaling those who had come out to gather around him. Accompanied by a roar, they were shocked. This kind of impact really scared them. Just a roar alone was enough to make them take a few steps back. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw that the guard in the central area had a relatively high cultivation level. He was a late-stage star apostle. However, compared to ordinary star apostles, which were star apostles from the lower levels, their cohesiveness was much stronger. Through the appraisal eye, they were all calculated by star power. If the star apostles from the lower levels had a combined star power of 100 points, then the guards here had a combined star power of more than 200 points, which was double. This was the difference in intrinsic strength, which was also the difference in foundation. He did not expect them to be so much stronger. Perhaps there was a difference in strength because they had cultivated in this environment. You, what did you do to me? How dare you mark my soul with a slave mark? One of the star apostles rushed up and roared. He obviously could not accept this situation. Get lost. The guard aimed at the star apostle and slapped him in the air. The slap sent him flying, and his face was covered in blood. An emperor god had been slapped so hard that he could not fight back. Who gave you the courage to speak to me so loudly? Mark means that you are a member of the celestial terminus ancestral land. Do whatever we tell you to do. The guard looked at them coldly and said, if you resist, you will die. Under normal circumstances, we will not use this mark, so you will not be forcibly controlled. Don't worry about that. Next, I will give you tasks. Come over here one by one. As he spoke, his aura increased and a shadow of a starry sky appeared behind him. If one looked closely, they would see that it was a giant golden dragon star. A golden dragon was circling around it, emitting the aura of the golden dragon. A strong dragon aura descended, making it difficult for them to breathe. At this time, they finally compromised and obediently walked over to the guard. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This was the power of the powerful star power. Every cultivator had star power in their body. Different types of star power could be used to activate different types of star power. Looking at the void above them, they could vaguely see some star power that they could not see. The guard in front of them had the golden dragon star, which belonged to the second level of star power. In this world, the most important thing was the star power. The highest level was the sixth level. Generally, those who could activate the star power were considered to have good talent. Some didn't even have it. They all had star power, but they didn't have the Dharma idol star power. The difference between them was huge. The data displayed by the appraisal eye kept jumping, which was the best proof. Under the display of the golden dragon star, his battle power rose by several levels, far surpassing them. No wonder he could become the captain here. How could he be the captain here without this ability? After they walked over, the guard captain retracted the golden dragon star power, and the pressure instantly disappeared. Very good. That's right. The guard took out a stack of tokens and gave them to them. These are your tokens. Take these tokens and follow me. After they got the tokens, they followed the guard captain. After passing through the gate, they did not see the outside area, but a big palace. However, this palace was a little strange. There was an altar in the center, and the top was empty, facing the void above. When they walked in and looked up, they could see the countless stars in the sky. It was the power of the star power. When Yi Tianyun saw the power of the star power, he had a feeling that he could only see it but not touch it. In other words, it was an area that couldn't be reached by flying. Apart from them, there was another group of people in front who were already taking the test. They lined up above the altar and stood there, feeling the power of the star power above. Chapter 1848. There was a large group of star apostles here, but the number of star apostles below could be counted with one's fingers. This was normal. There were so many worlds in this area, and there would be a small group of star apostles at almost every time. There were not many of them, but there would always be a large number of star apostles arriving here one after another. Every week, or even every day, there would be a star apostle who successfully ascended. You guys wait here. When it's your turn, go up. The captain of the guards gestured for them to stay at the side, then turned around and walked back. His task had been accomplished for the time being. He was actually just a guide. Other than the captain of the guards, there was also a powerful deacon Bao Yang at the side, constantly recording the test results of the star apostles. He had a serious expression and did not smile at all. No matter what the results of the star apostles were, it was meaningless to him. Friend, which world are you from? A star apostle at the side, who had nothing to do, started to ask the star apostle next to him. However, the star apostle ignored him and did not even bother to say a word. He looked arrogant, as if he was not on the same level as the star apostle. The star apostle just wanted to say a word, but was ignored. However, he did not get angry, and continued to ask the star apostle next to him, not feeling awkward at all. Along the way, none of the star apostles who had come with him answered. They were either too arrogant to answer, or they were still stuck in the bottom of the valley and had not come out yet. After going through so many things, they had fallen from the top to the bottom of the valley. It was extremely tragic. How could they still be in the mood to answer the questions of others, especially when they were not familiar with them? In the end, when the star apostle asked Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, "Friend, you seem to be in a good mood. Now that you are immersed in the ups and downs, how can you still be in the mood to chat?" That's true. The ups and downs are too great. Falling from the high and mighty altar to the lowest level is really unbearable. Xing shook his head and smiled bitterly. But it is precisely because of this that I need to talk to relieve my stress. This is my personality. If I don't do this, it will be hard for me to relieve my stress. Let me get to know you. I am Emperor God Gongyang. No, I should be called Gongyang Star Disciple now. Just call me Gongyang. Yi Tianyun looked him up and down. He had to admit that Gong Yang's cultivation level was not bad. He was only at the Star Apostle middle stage. It was impressive that he could cultivate to this level. Unfortunately, he was still branded as a slave and had to work for the Celestial Pole ancestral land for many years. My name is Yi Tianyun. It's a pleasure to meet fellow Daoist Gong Yang. Yi Tianyun had a good impression of him for being so enthusiastic. It was good to chat with him for a while. At the very least, he could learn about the other party's situation. In any case, it wouldn't be a problem to chat with him for a while, and it wouldn't expose any secrets. So it's fellow Daoist Tianyun. Gong Yang smiled and said, "Look at this star force. It seems like we will have to draw the star force later to see what level of star force we can obtain. In other words, whether or not we can be valued will depend on this." Gong Yang had just arrived and immediately saw the situation in front of him. Anyone with a discerning eye would be able to guess what it was with just a casual glance. Yes, no matter where you go, the talented will get better treatment. Yi Tianyun looked at the test over there and deeply agreed with it. I wonder if those medicine gods or those who have ascended to the title of God Emperor have come here? Or did they die when they were chosen as God Emperors? Silence. Deacon Bao Yang, who was recording on the side, looked at them. His cold gaze almost penetrated their hearts. If there's a next time, I won't even let you take the test. I'll send you to the mine directly. As for the rest, I will also send you to the mine and not let you take the test. A bunch of trash natives, do you really think I want to let you take the test? How can you take the test? You are all a bunch of trash. There are only a few who can draw the level 1 star force. What a waste of time. The rest of the Star Apostles glared at Yi Tianyun and the others. If they really could not take the test, they would not even have a chance to make a comeback. Although they were scolded as trash, they could only accept it. They had no choice but to lower their heads. Gong Yang's face turned red and he clenched his fists tightly. They had only chatted for a short while and it was almost silent. How could they disturb others? To put it bluntly, Deacon Bao Yang disliked everything, and he especially disliked them. Regardless of whether it was the Deacon Bao Yang or the guards, staying here was like being imprisoned. They did not like this job at all, especially when they met a bunch of trash among the trash. If there were outstanding Star Apostles, they would be rewarded. However, they were all low-level ones who could not even draw the level 1 star force. How could they be happy? Yi Tianyun reached out and patted his shoulder, signaling him not to be angry. He was also unhappy, but this was their territory. Even if he wanted to resist and kill this guy with a slap, he would have to think twice. Unless he could escape in one go, he would not dare to be so impulsive. Gong Yang nodded and gave him a grateful look. He could only obediently keep his mouth shut. After this small interlude, the entire palace fell silent. Only Deacon Bao Yang's voice could be heard. You can't even draw the star force. Trash. Go to the mine. Deacon Bao Yang waved his hand and told the Star Apostle to go to the mine. This Star Apostle stood on the altar and tried to draw the Star Apostle's power for a long time, but there was no sign of it. He was determined to be trash and could not draw any star power. No, trash, go to the mine. It still hasn't been activated. Trash, go to the mine too. Then, 3 Star Apostles appeared in a row and did not draw any star power. This made Deacon Bao Yang very impatient and even a little angry. In the midst of his disappointment, one of the Star Apostles finally shouted. In the void above him, a faintly discernible star force flickered, accompanied by the flickering shadow of a giant python. It descended and deeply imprinted itself into the Star Apostle's body. Giant Python Star, level 1 star power. Although it is still trash, at least it is better than nothing. Go to the war and join the army. Deacon Bao Yang's expression finally softened. A low star power was better than no star power at all. Then, the other Star Apostles continued. Some of them succeeded, while others did not move at all. This made them feel extremely uneasy. If they joined the army, they would be able to obtain more military merits by killing giant beasts. As for mining, needless to say, they would not be able to obtain many military merits even if they dug until they died. Chapter 1849. As the star apostles went through the test one by one, the highest level was only level 1. No wonder the deacon was so angry. The first level was too low. Although it was better than nothing, it was still low. Only a second-level star Dharma idol had some value. Both the guard captain and the deacon had level 2 star Dharma, which showed how important it was. The higher the level, the more powerful it would be. It could be said that the difference was like heaven and earth. The star Dharma was destined to have great achievements in the future. Those with lower grades basically had no future to speak of. Soon, it was Yi Tianyun's turn to take the test. I wonder what star Dharma I will have. Yi Tianyun rubbed his palms excitedly. He hoped that he would have a level 2 or above. It would be embarrassing if he did not even have a star Dharma. When he came to the altar, Deacon Baoyang pointed at him and said, "You too don't have to take the test. Go to the mine directly." Yi Tianyun was stunned and frowned. "Why? We didn't take the test and we might not even have a level 2. How can we be assigned to the mine directly?" Deacon Baoyang looked at Yi Tianyun as if he was looking at a piece of trash. "The results are the same. The highest is only level 1. So what? Trash is trash. Just report to the mine directly." "I can't accept this," Yi Tianyun said in a low voice. "Even if you only have a level 1 star Dharma, you can go to the army. Isn't it unreasonable to be assigned to the mine?" It was one thing for these guys to be prejudiced, that was something he could accept. But now, he was directly judged to be going to the mine without even taking a test. This was too unfair. "What I said is reasonable." Deacon Baoyang looked at him coldly. "You don't have any ability, so why are you still complaining? I hope you can think about yourself in the mine and don't make such a stupid mistake again." The rest of the star apostles on the side all had gloating expressions on their faces. This was the consequence of speaking outside, or in other words, provoking Deacon Baoyang. Here, they were reasonable. Who dared to disobey them? Yi Tianyun's face sank, and Gongyang's face is also ugly. He didn't expect that his little chat would cause such a thing. "I will take responsibility for my own actions. I was the one who started this." Gongyang stood up and cupped his fists as he said, "Mr. Deacon, this is my problem, not Cultivator Tianyun's. If you want to punish someone, punish me." Gongyang did not back down. Instead, he chose to stand up and take responsibility. "I said that both of you will be sent to the mine. Just because you take responsibility doesn't mean that he doesn't have to go. Don't tell me that I didn't make myself clear. Whatever I say goes, no one can change my mind." Deacon Baoyang looked at him mockingly. No matter how much Gongyang pleaded, it was useless. Gong gong, Gongyang. He knew that he would implicate Yi Tianyun. 1. When he was about to say something, Yi Tianyun stood up and said indifferently, "You are abusing your power, there is no such rule here, right? The normal rule was to first pass the test and obtain the Dharma idol before being sent to the corresponding area. You're skipping the rules and abusing your private rights." Although the rule here was to listen to the orders of the higher-ups, there were some things that couldn't be overstepped. For example, Deacon Baoyang had overstepped his authority. However, none of the guards or other star apprentices said anything. They were all waiting for a good show. Deacon Baoyang looked at him coldly. "You're courting death. How dare you say that I'm abusing my power? This is disobeying orders, a capital crime." Deacon Baoyang was instantly enraged. Disobeying his orders was a capital offense. Then, he turned his hand and slammed it towards Yi Tianyun. Behind him, the Dharma form of the giant ape appeared, and the explosive force increased by more than 3 times. The essence of the great ape star was to enhance one's strength. It could greatly enhance the strength of the user, and it could crush the opponent with its violent strength. With the help of the star Dharma idol, Deacon Baoyang seemed to have transformed into a giant ape. He swung his fist and smashed it down from the sky, destroying heaven and earth. He was merciless and merciless. In his opinion, these people were just a bunch of ants. If they died, they died. The higher-ups would not hold them accountable. In this place, they were kings, and no one could control them. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Without fear, he also swung his fist and counterattacked. Crazy mode, Activate. Even if it was not 128 times the power, the 8 times increase in combat power was enough to crush a bunch of Star Dharma idols. Bang! It was a simple and violent punch. It could be said that it was a fist against a fist. However, under such a bombardment, the giant ape hand that was smashing down was destroyed by his punch. Even Deacon Bao Yang was sent flying by this punch, and a large part of his body caved in. This scene stunned everyone. He didn't even have the Star Dharma idol, and his cultivation was weaker than Deacon Bao Yang's. How could he crush Deacon Bao Yang? Yi Tianyun quickly stepped forward and appeared in front of Deacon Bao Yang in the next second. When Deacon Bao Yang tried to get up, he stepped on his chest. A capital crime? I should be the one sentencing you to death. You, how dare you? Deacon Bao Yang's eyes were filled with fear. He never thought that Yi Tianyun would be able to resist his power. How could Yi Tianyun, who hadn't even awakened his Star Dharma idol, have the power to resist him? Catcher! Yi Tianyun stomped down hard on Deacon Bao Yang's chest, causing it to explode. At the same time, Deacon Bao Yang's head was also crushed. Successfully killed Deacon Bao Yang. Obtained 128 star energy points. Yi Tianyun was stunned when he heard that he could only obtain star energy points. It seemed that the drop rate had dropped quite a bit. Not even a single treasure had been dropped. Of course, even if it hadn't dropped, it wouldn't have mattered. He swept away Deacon Bao Yang's storage ring. There were many things inside as well. When the others saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. Deacon Bao Yang had died just like that, right in front of them. Before the guards could react, they saw Yi Tianyun kill Deacon Bao Yang. Gong Yang was dumbfounded. If it were him, he wouldn't have dared to do this. Not only was the difference in cultivation too great, but this was someone else's territory. How could he resist? He didn't dare to resist, but Yi Tianyun did. If he was sent to the mines, he would be finished. There would definitely be more guards there, and it would be even more difficult to escape. Moreover, Deacon Bao Yang was about to kill him, so how could he just stand there and let himself be killed? That wasn't his style. Or perhaps it was better to say that forbearance had never been his style. He would kill when he had to. Chapter 1850. Without giving the guards any time to react, Yi Tianyun rushed forward and punched a guard. In the blink of an eye, all the guards had died at his hands. They did not even have a chance to resist. He had also easily earned a large amount of star energy, enough for him to level up. Especially after his system had been upgraded and he could use crazy mode, he did not hesitate to activate crazy mode, which increased his star energy by 8 times. This way, he could easily break through to the mid-stage star apostle level. However, he did not need to break through for the time being, and he was not in a hurry to do so. In the blink of an eye, all the guards with Dharma powers had been killed. What was left was a group of star apostles who were dumbfounded. They were all dumbfounded. When Yi Tianyun looked over, they all took a few steps back, worried that Yi Tianyun would silence them. You've gotten yourself into big trouble. You've actually killed all the guards here. Who knows, you might even implicate us. That's right, you've caused a huge disaster, especially with the soul imprint. Even if you try to escape, you won't be able to. Damn it, we might be implicated. They all had sullen faces. If they were implicated, then they would all die. Yi Tianyun could not be bothered with them. Instead, he turned to Gong Yang. If I continue to stay here, I'm afraid I'll implicate you. I'll take my leave first. I hope we'll meet again if fate allows it. He had a good impression of Gong Yang. Gong Yang had stepped forward to take the blame, which was a very responsible act. Although it seemed like he had implicated Yi Tianyun, more importantly, it was because Deacon Bao Yang looked down on their lives and treated them as if they were not alive. If they made him unhappy, they would all be sentenced to death. All right, we'll meet again if fate allows it. But that soul imprint. Gong Yang was still very worried. Don't worry, I can deal with it myself. Yi Tianyun would not say that he did not have a soul imprint. He did not delay any longer and turned to rush out of the palace gate. If he was discovered, he would not even have time to escape. In the blink of an eye, he rushed out of the palace gate alone. What greeted his eyes was a boundless mountain forest. This huge palace was built in the forest. It was surrounded by a dense forest, like a city wall, surrounding the palace layer by layer. As soon as he came out, there were a few guards in front of him who were arranging the star apprentices to board the spirit boats in front of them so that they could go to their assigned areas. Which area are you heading to? The guard subconsciously asked when he saw him come out. What answered him was a huge fist, a one-hit kill. The guard didn't even have time to react before he was killed. Even at the moment of his death, he didn't know what had happened. They were outside and had no way of sensing what was going on inside. On top of that, Yi Tianyun's swift movements made it impossible for the guards to call for reinforcements. As for the energy spreading outside, that was even more impossible. There was a barrier on the palace gate, locking the energy inside. Not only did the lockdown energy not leak out, but even the energy from the outside was constantly being drawn in. Thus, the battle inside was unable to leak out. Unless they came in to check, they wouldn't be able to sense anything wrong. In the blink of an eye, the two guards outside were killed. The only ones left were the guards inside the spirit boat. Without any hesitation, Yi Tianyun dashed into the spirit boat and blasted the guard who was controlling the spirit boat into pieces. The rest of the star apprentices were dumbfounded. If you don't want to die, get out of here now. Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly. The star apprentices trembled and immediately turned around to leave the spirit boat. They didn't dare to stay any longer. They didn't dare to resist Yi Tianyun's orders. They didn't know what was going on with Yi Tianyun. If they dared to stand up for him, they might die. After they left, Yi Tianyun patted the pearl on the spirit boat and energy continuously flowed into it. With a swoosh, the spirit boat flew up into the sky and disappeared from the area. As soon as he left, some guards rushed out, but there weren't many of them. Along the way, Yi Tianyun had dared to resist because he could see that there weren't many guards here. He didn't want to stay in this place. Coincidentally, the guards here were lax, so it wasn't difficult for him to escape. Perhaps they thought that no one would resist, so they were so relaxed. They weren't wrong to think that way. After being branded with a soul brand, it was almost impossible to resist. If a stronger superior gave an order, they wouldn't be able to resist and would have to obey it. However, Yi Tianyun's speed was astonishing. They didn't even have the chance to give an order before they were killed. Or rather, they were dumbfounded. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to be so bold as to resist them. This was definitely the first time in history that someone had resisted. He escaped in that direction. Chase him. The captain of the guards rushed out angrily. His eyes were filled with surprise and anger, but more than that, fear. If they couldn't catch him, they would be punished. Immediately, they boarded the spirit boat, drove the star disciples off, and quickly chased in the direction where Yi Tianyun was. I hope cultivator Tianyun can escape successfully. Gong Yang and the others came out of the palace and were a little worried when they saw the situation. Except for Gong Yang, the other star disciples were watching the show from the sidelines. Some were worried. They didn't want to be implicated and punished together. That would be unjust. At the same time, Yi Tianyun, who had snatched the spirit boat, was going all out. He let the spirit boat fly forward at the fastest speed. He didn't know what was going on in this area, so he just needed to escape. What an amazing speed. The level of this spirit boat is far better than a heavenly god treasure. Yi Tianyun took a closer look, and the appraisal eye immediately showed him the information. Star sector level spiritual treasure, a level higher than a heavenly god. It has a vast amount of star power, and with the help of the star power, it can exert the strongest speed. Star sector level spiritual treasure, a treasure that surpassed the heavenly god level. However, it seemed to be more common here. At least, to Yi Tianyun, there wasn't much to see. Activate the star power. I haven't even activated my Dharma power, how can I do that? Yi Tianyun had only used it for a while, but he knew that he couldn't use all his strength to activate it. The spirit boats behind him were much faster than he could control. It wasn't that their cultivation was far higher than Yi Tianyun's, but that they could use the star power of the Dharma power to exert the strongest power of the pearl. If this continued, he would definitely be caught. Good, Let's continue to catch up. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He felt that it was really exciting. Chapter 1851. Chase after him. The captain of the guards roared at his subordinate. Captain Chen Xing, this is the fastest we can go. We can't go any faster, but if we continue like this, it won't be long before we catch up. The fugitive doesn't seem to have star aspect, so he can't increase his speed. The star aspect behind the subordinate flashed. If one looked closely, they would find that it was actually a giant eagle. This subordinate star aspect was the giant eagle star. Although it wasn't of a high grade, when used on this spirit boat, it could reach its maximum speed. This was why Chen Xing let his subordinate control it. His star aspect was very strong, but that was only in battle. On the spirit boat, its effect was relatively average. That's for sure. He hasn't awakened the star aspect, so naturally he can't use it. Captain Chen Xing looked ahead coldly. Where did this kid come from? Which world did he come from? How is it possible for him to be so powerful without awakening his star force? He really couldn't understand, especially when he heard the sounds of fighting outside. He quickly rushed out. By the time he rushed out, Yi Tianyun had already killed his way out, snatched the spirit boat, and left. As he quickly understood the situation, he was shocked to find that someone had resisted, killed all the attendants and guards, and fled with the spirit boat. This was something that had never happened in history. If he was investigated, he would definitely be severely punished. At the very least, he would be sent to mine or something. At the very least, he would be killed. But he forgot one thing. Those who are marked with the slave mark can't escape. Captain Chen Xing said coldly. Get closer, then I'll control him. As long as it was a captain, they could give orders to control. Everyone had different levels of authority. Captains could control the slave mark. Even if the other party was an upper god emperor, stronger than them, they could still order them to do things. This was a matter of authority. But as their cultivation increased, it would change very quickly. When that time came, captains naturally couldn't order them. Soon, the spirit boat caught up. When there was still some distance between them, Captain Chen Xing immediately shouted, I order you to stop. Captain Chen Xing shouted in a solemn voice, trying to activate the slave brand. As long as the other party heard the command, he would definitely obey. However, even though he had shouted, the spirit boat in front of him did not stop. Instead, it continued to rise to a higher level. This caused Captain Chen Xing to be stunned. His orders were useless now. In my capacity as Captain Chen Xing, I order you to stop. Captain Chen Xing thought that his order was not conveyed, so he shouted again. This time, the voice was loud and clear. However, the spirit boat in front did not stop. It continued charging forward, passing through more forests and flying further into the distance. If this continued, they would definitely escape from this area. What's going on? Why isn't it working? Team leader Chen Xing was stunned. How could the command that had worked every time be ineffective? After that, he turned to look at his subordinate and ordered, kneel down right now. The subordinate's soul imprint flickered, and he knelt down without any hesitation. He didn't even know what had happened. There's no problem. Why can't he control it? Captain Chen Xing frowned. He really couldn't understand what was going on. Captain Chen Xing, could it be that the fugitive doesn't have that soul imprint? The guard next to him interrupted. This. Captain Chen Xing's expression stiffened. He immediately shook his head and denied it. That's impossible. Even a Star Master can be controlled by a soul imprint. Why isn't it working on him? But Captain, you've already shouted so many times, and the other party didn't have any effect at all. It's very likely that there really was an accident, and he didn't have the soul imprint on him. This guard was somewhat wise and could guess one thing. Could it be that the soul imprint really wasn't engraved on his soul? Captain Chen Xing's expression was strange. If there really was such a loophole, it would be really miraculous. All this while, such a situation had never occurred. As such, he had never thought about this problem. Immediately after, his gaze turned cold. He continued to shout, "How dare you violate the rules and kill the warden here? If you don't stop in time and surrender obediently, I'll wipe out all the forces in your hometown. I'll wipe them all out, kill them all. If you obediently surrender now, I won't hold your hometown responsible at all. Captain, is that useful? The guard next to him asked doubtfully. Of course it's useful. These trash aboriginals came up from below, and they all have a lot of feelings for the place down below. Most of them work themselves to death here to accumulate military merits to exchange for freedom and ownership of their hometown. They don't know that they'd probably be dead by the time they accumulate so many military merits, right? Captain Chen Xing said confidently. Just watch, he will definitely surrender soon. After all, the power is in our hand. What if we meet a heartless person? The guard next to him asked curiously. Slap. Captain Chen Xing slapped the guard, sending him flying. You talk too much. If he's a heartless person, then we'll kill him directly and destroy him. Even if we have to chase him to the end of the world, we'll catch him. As soon as he finished speaking, the spirit boat in front of them suddenly turned around and rushed towards them. Ha, I'm right, right? These trash aboriginals, as long as we threaten them slightly, they will immediately become obedient. Everyone listen to me, we must capture him alive. I want to see just what is going on with this boy that he can't be controlled. Captain, over there, what are you shouting for? Calm down a bit, didn't he obediently come over to surrender? Captain Chen Xing turned his head and saw that the spirit boat that Yi Tianyun was controlling was ruthlessly crashing towards them. Not only was its speed not slow, but it had also reached its fastest speed. It was like an enraged dragon, roaring as it hurtled towards them. Crazy, he's gone crazy. Captain Chen Xing shouted out, hurry and dodge. The two spirit boats crashed into each other. Not to mention the fact that the spirit boats would be damaged, but it would be hard for them to withstand the impact. In particular, the other side seemed to have gone mad. He was like a madman amongst madmen as he rushed towards them. Bang! It was already too late to dodge. They had both reached their fastest speed and Yi Tianyun's speed was also the fastest. When the two of them were added together, their speed was undoubtedly even more astonishing. As they crashed into each other, a violent explosion occurred. The surrounding forest was blasted apart and a giant mushroom cloud soared into the skies. Chapter 1852. The impact of the explosion was so strong that even the palace in the distance could feel the strong vibration. The range of the impact was too wide. If it had not been a little far away, the palace would have been affected. The star apostles who were watching from outside the palace did not know what had happened. What happened over there? It seems that something happened to Captain Chen Xing. Send more people over to check it out. Another captain came out of the palace. The palace was very big, but there were many people who were lazing around. Usually, they had nothing to do, so they took turns to work. The rest of the time, they would stay in the cultivation room to meditate in seclusion or do other things. To put it bluntly, they were not strict enough, which led to the current situation. They were also too confident in themselves. With the slave mark, they were not afraid that the other party would disobey them. However, they did not expect that Yi Tianyun was an exception. He did not even have a slave mark. Immediately, a group of guards boarded the spiritual boat and flew towards the direction of the explosion. The other star apostles who had just boarded the spiritual boat were dumbfounded and did not know what to do. They were just abandoned at the side, and no one cared about them for the time being. Gong Yang turned his head and looked around. When he found that there were no guards around, his figure flashed, and he hid in a corner and quietly chose to escape. The slave mark was a very troublesome thing, but if no one controlled it, it was no different from being a free person. Not all areas of the celestial terminus ancestral land were managed by strong people. If they could hide, they would naturally do so. Not only Gong Yang, but other star apostles also chose to boldly escape, and some chose to stay there instead of leaving. This situation showed that they were not good enough to deal with the crisis. They had actually left a group of newly promoted star apostles aside. The newly promoted star apostles were extremely rebellious. If it were not for the slave mark and the strength of the guards, they would not have obeyed the order. The guards did not know any of this, and their attention was focused on Yi Tianyun. At the same time, after the explosion dissipated, the two spiritual boats were lying in a big pit, smashed to pieces. Captain Chen Xing and the others in the spiritual boat were all thrown out. Some were injured, some were not dead, but many were seriously injured. How could such a violent impact be weak? Even though they were at the Star Apostle middle stage, they were still shaken to the point of trembling, and their injuries were not light. This was especially true for those with lower cultivation and weaker equipment. They were heavily injured and paralyzed on the ground, unable to move. Damn it, what a lunatic. Team leader Chen Xing climbed up. His injuries were average, and his defense was strong. Naturally, there wouldn't be any big problems. However, it was hard to say for the rest of his subordinates. They were all in a more miserable state. For a moment, all of them were lying on the ground, unable to move. Lunatic. Who are you calling a lunatic? A figure appeared in front of him. Captain Chen Xing had just raised his head when he was sent flying by a kick. His body was kicked into a bloody miss. Following that, the soul inside broke out of the shell and wandered about in the void. Just as he came out, a huge hand grabbed his soul and pinched it in the palm of his hand. It's you. When Captain Chen Xing realized that his body had been destroyed, he realized that he had been caught by Yi Tianyun. When he saw the unharmed Yi Tianyun, he was stunned. With such a huge impact, he should have been injured no matter what, right? He had strong protective gear on him, so he wouldn't be injured. However, no matter how strong the protective gear was, it was still destroyed by Yi Tianyun's kick. The body could defend, but what about the brain? Of course it's me. Yi Tianyun pinched his soul and said coldly, I didn't want to do this, but you said something that hurt my ears, so I couldn't help but crash into you. You want to destroy my hometown? Then I'll destroy you all first. No, don't. Bang. Captain Chen Xing's soul was crushed just like that. There was no mercy. In the next second, Yi Tianyun continued to clean up the remaining guards. As they were all injured, it was very easy to clean them up. In the blink of an eye, all the guards that were chasing after him were cleaned up. Let's go. Yi Tianyun raised his head to look at the sky. He didn't stay for long and quickly left. The reason why he wasn't injured was naturally not because of his heaven-defying defense. Such a strong impact, he would have been injured no matter what. He mainly used the teleportation godstone to set a coordinate on the side when he turned back to crash. The moment he controlled the spirit boat to crash over, he immediately teleported over. Naturally, he could easily avoid the damage caused by the impact. Not long after he left, several spirit boats quickly arrived. Soon, a group of powerful guards came down. Among them was an extremely powerful existence. When he stepped out, his power enveloped the area, and all the details were reflected in his mind. There's no one left. His methods are quite rough. Everyone has been taken care of. This man had an expression of superiority and arrogance. At this moment, he frowned. Something like this actually happened. If the higher-ups find out, I'm afraid I won't be able to keep my position. Palace Master, what should we do? Should we send people to search immediately? The guard next to him asked. Isn't that obvious? Quickly increase the manpower and search for all of them. This man was the Thunder Shadow Temple Master of the palace. When such a situation occurred, he finally came out. His cultivation was at the level of a Star Master. Vaguely, the Starlight Dharma power behind him had reached the level of level 3. The power it carried was like a violent storm. It could pour out at any time and destroy everything. Yes, Temple Master. The guard hurriedly searched to the side. He wanted to turn the surroundings inside and out. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master turned back to the spirit boat and said in a deep voice, "Go back." Then, they quickly returned to the palace. When the Thunder Shadow Temple Master returned, the group of guards looked a little flustered. They didn't dare to look at the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. What happened? The Thunder Shadow Temple Master had just returned and immediately sensed that something was wrong. That some of the Star Apostles who just came up escaped. The guard reported, trembling. Escaped. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master frowned. He immediately glared at them and said, "Hurry up and find them. If you miss one, you can use your life to make up for it." Yes. The guards complained incessantly. How could they have known that such a thing would happen? They could only hurriedly get up and search for people. If they could find one, their lives would be saved. If they couldn't, they would have to use their lives to make up for it. They didn't want to die here, and they especially didn't want to use their lives to make up for the lives of some low-level aborigines. When the rest of the guards went to search, the Thunder Shadow Temple Master looked coldly at the remaining deacons and said, "Kill all the Star Apostles you have captured. This matter must not be spread, understand?" Understood. Many deacons nodded. If the main palace hall found out, they would really lose their lives. They could only harden their hearts and kill those Star Apostles who knew about this. Chapter 1853. The ruthlessness of the Thunder Shadow Temple Master caused many Star Apostles to suffer, especially those who did not escape, and were killed directly. At the moment they were killed, they were filled with regret. Why didn't they run away? Why did they stay here? The people here were a bunch of selfish, arrogant people who looked down on them. Whoever trusted them was an idiot. Obviously, they were one of those idiots. Or rather, from the moment they were promoted, they had no status to speak of. They could kill anyone they wanted, just like slaughtering a chicken or a dog. There were no obstacles. Gong Yang had anticipated this situation, so he had chosen to escape first. He would rather fight to see if he could escape than stay here. From the moment he saw the cultivators here, he knew that none of them were easy to deal with, and he had no status to speak of. He would not even know what happened to him if he died here one day. The search went on frantically. Be it for Yi Tianyun or the other Star Apostles, everyone was conducting a large-scale search. Yi Tianyun had been listed as a key wanted person. However, this was only internal. Outsiders did not dare to spread the news. If they issued a wanted order, wouldn't it be equivalent to exposing their dereliction of duty? Hence, they had to arrest him internally, which made it much more difficult. As long as he escaped a little further, they would not be able to catch him. However, the definition of further was very far. It seemed that there was only a forest surrounding it, but in fact, the entire planet was their territory. This meant that as long as he did not escape from the planet, he would not be able to escape. For this reason, they mainly guarded the area outside. They would first guard the area outside, then slowly surround and capture him. This was a very slow and steady process. As long as there was no major negligence, they would be able to capture him. However, it all depended on time. Whoever was faster would be the winner. Just when the guards thought that Yi Tianyun would escape to another area, Yi Tianyun had actually used the teleportation godstone to return to the palace. He had to be responsible for his hometown. He had to see if they had done anything to his hometown. After all, the words of the guard had really provoked him. If they did anything to his hometown, it would be extremely troublesome. In reality, such a situation did not occur. They did not come in to investigate, or rather, they did not know which world Yi Tianyun came from. Unless one saw which world he came from in the beginning, there was absolutely no way to know which world he came from. As for destroying his hometown, that was even more ridiculous. Regardless of which area it was in, the most important thing was that they couldn't go in with their authority. Unless it was forcefully broken open, there was no way to go in and destroy it. However, if they were to check the artifact spirit, they would be exposed. After all, if they couldn't communicate with the artifact spirit, they would suspect that something was wrong and send someone down. Yi Tianyun was not worried about this matter. After all, the artifact spirit's accident couldn't be blamed on him, right? It seems that they are all crazy, they don't have time to care about this place. Yi Tianyun said as he hid in the palace, he could clearly see the situation outside, especially now that he was wearing a guard's uniform. As long as you don't look carefully, you will think that he is the guard here. He had killed the guard earlier and obtained the corresponding equipment. Dressed like a guard, he swaggered in front of the door, pretending to be a former guard, guarding this place. From time to time, he saw Star Apostles coming up from below and asking him to report inside. He looked no different from a normal guard. While the search for Yi Tianyun outside was driving him crazy, he hid here to take refuge. The more dangerous a place was, the safer it seemed. A long time ago, he had prepared a backup plan for himself, and he would never act impulsively. Even if he acted impulsively, He would always have a backup plan in hand, and he would not bring any disaster to his hometown. Time passed quickly, and very soon, some star apostles were caught. These star apostles were undoubtedly executed. Yi Tianyun watched coldly from the side. This matter had indeed started because of him, but the real problem was naturally the problem here. They had treated them like ants and treated their lives as nothing. In order to cover up their own mistakes, they had killed other innocent people. When these star apostles were executed, some of them hated Yi Tianyun, but most of them hated everyone here. When they came up, they could sense what was going on. If they had a choice, they really did not want to come to this world and become slaves here. The Empyrean terminus ancestral land is really disgusting. When I am strong enough, I will definitely destroy this place. Yi Tianyun clenched his fists tightly. He was very contemptuous of what they had done. Now, he was waiting for an opportunity, a chance to escape. With the Thunder Shadow Temple Master guarding this place, he could not make any more plans. Originally, he had wanted to secretly kill all the guards, but this would undoubtedly expose himself. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master was very strong, so strong that he could crush him with one move. Perhaps this was the level of a Star Master, especially when he had awakened his own Star Law. If he could awaken the Star Dharma aspect, the result would be different. Perhaps with the help of this Star Law, it would not be impossible for him to fight the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. After all, if he continued like this, it would not be a problem for him to break through to the late Star Apostle level. With the help of Crazy Mode and the Star Law, it was also possible for him to crush the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. Just as he was thinking about how to escape, a familiar figure appeared in front of him, Gong Yang. He did not expect Gong Yang to be caught in the end. They were still too weak. They could cover the sky with one hand on the ground, but here, they seemed so powerless. Any guard could crush them. Without awakening the Star Law, they could not release their full strength. Therefore, in the face of someone at the same level, they could only stare. There was a large amount of energy in the altar, and awakening the Star Law required energy. It was not possible to awaken the Star Law just by looking at the void outside and roaring. Otherwise, they would not have spent so much effort to build an altar to awaken the Star Law. Kid, I did not expect you to be so good at concealment. If I did not look carefully, I would not have been able to tell that you were hiding in that corner. The guard next to him dragged him to the ground and looked at Gong Yang unhappily. Speak. Where is your other companion? You seem to have a good relationship with that kid. Do you know where he is hiding? P2E. Gong Yang spat and said coldly, even if I die, I will not say it. Trash like you do not deserve to know. Cultivator Tianyun will definitely escape to a place you will never know. Chapter 1854. Oh, you have guts. The guard swung the spear in his hand, and with a pa sound, Gong Yang was sent flying. His body caved in, and there was an obvious trace of the spear shaft. Gong Yang sucked in a breath of cold air. He got up and glared at the guard coldly. It's not that I have guts, but you bunch of trash don't deserve to know. A bunch of arrogant bastards, treating us like trash. Do you think you are better than us? In my opinion, you are just a bunch of arrogant bastards. Give me some time and I will trample all of you under my feet. Gong Yang's face was filled with arrogance. He did not rely on luck to reach his current level, but his strength. Perhaps their foundations were not as good as those who were born here, but they had strong willpower and were able to fight on. That's not right. Some of your guards actually came up from the bottom like us. Yet, you guys treat us like this. You have really forgotten your original identity. After staying here for a while, you guys don't even know who you are anymore. Gong Yang shook his head and sneered. In my opinion, you guys will be abandoned sooner or later. No matter how hard you work, the result will be the same if you stay in this godforsaken place. They will look down on you. This bunch of trash would rather die than stay here for a while. Gong Yang continued to spit. He wanted to vent the anger in his heart before he died. Since he was going to die anyway, why not spit it out to make himself feel better? The faces of the guards in front turned pale. Some of them had indeed come up from the bottom and were assigned to this place to carry out their duties. By staying here for a while, they would be able to earn military merits. If they could find talented people, they would be able to earn even more military merits. Thus, staying here was considered a good job. However, there had never been anyone talented enough to turn this good job into a tough one. Since they did not earn any military merits, they vented their anger on the cultivators who came up from the bottom. At the same time, they had forgotten that they came up from the bottom. It was really a sad thing. What, are you speechless because of what I said? Even if you have a breakthrough in the future, in my opinion, you are just a bunch of dogs. Dong. A spear stabbed him and nailed him to the ground. I'll give you one last chance. Tell me about your companion, or where your hometown is, and I'll spare your life. The guard glared at him with bloodshot eyes. He wanted nothing more than to kill Gong Yang, but he still had to carry out his duty. Gong Yang grinned and spat on the guard's face. I've said it before, I won't say a word even if I die. Fellow Daoist Tianyun has done what I wanted to do, and I hope that one day, he will come and kill all of you. I believe that he will save all the cultivators here. All the cultivators here were trapped together and had to work hard for the celestial terminus ancestral land. Actually, there was nothing wrong with risking their lives. The key was that the treatment was too poor. If they were treated fairly, climbing up from the bottom would not be a big deal. But from the very beginning, they were treated like slaves. How could they accept this? If it wasn't for the slave brand, they would have rebelled. Humph. Saving the cultivators here, what wishful thinking. The guard sneered, if he dares to come back, he will definitely be destroyed by Lei Ying Temple Master. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to tell me or not? The guard raised the spear in his hand and easily tore a hole in Gong Yang's body. If this continued, the hole would reach his head. What a fool. Don't even think of getting half a word out of me. Don't waste your time. Gong Yang was still stubborn and refused to say anything. In fact, Gong Yang did not know the details, and Yi Tianyun did not say which world he came from. He only knew his name and nothing else. Therefore, it was useless to force him to answer. But he said it like that, and he was stubborn. Then go to hell. The guard was enraged, he brandished his spear, wanting to split Gong Yang in half. At this moment, a figure flashed by and punched the guard into a bloody mist, which dissipated in the void. There's no need to wait for the future. I dare to come back now. Yi Tianyun appeared in front of the guards. His eyes were cold, and a sharp aura swept in all directions. The guards at the side were dumbfounded, especially when they saw Yi Tianyun's attire. Wasn't this the attire of their comrade? When they took a closer look, they realized that this guy was the wanted Yi Tianyun. When did he sneak in? Cultivator Tianyun. Gong Yang was stunned. He did not expect that Yi Tianyun would rush out to save him at this critical moment. Yi Tianyun did not want to help at first, but seeing Gong Yang like this, his heart was moved. It had to be said that Gong Yang was a person worth befriending. Even in death, he kept his mouth shut. Actually, Gong Yang could have said something random, for example, he knew where it was and led the guards to look for it. That way, he could buy time and live a little longer. But he did not do that. Instead, he chose to scold them directly. He would not betray Yi Tianyun. Under such circumstances, Yi Tianyun decided to help. And in his mind, he had a new plan. Catch him. Catch him. The guards immediately reacted and quickly surrounded Yi Tianyun. Some even quickly informed their companions so that they could capture Yi Tianyun. Do you think you can catch me? Yi Tianyun sneered. He swung his spear and charged at the guards in front of him, instantly killing them. With his domineering power, as long as they were not powerful star apostles or star masters, he could deal with them with a single spear strike. In the blink of an eye, they were easily killed and turned into a huge wave of star energy. Brother Gong Yang, come with me. Yi Tianyun pulled out the spear from Gong Yang's body and gestured for him to hurry up. Gong Yang quickly recovered from his injuries. This was not a problem for him. As long as his soul was not injured, there was no pressure on his body to recover quickly. Shortly after, Yi Tianyun walked in front of the altar and looked at him with a smile. Your appearance made me want to fight. I don't need to wait for the future. I want to flatten this place now. Flatten this place? Gong Yang was stunned. He then shook his head and advised, Brother Tianyun, don't be so impulsive. Hurry up and escape. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master is very strong. He has at least the cultivation of a Star Master. There is no way we can resist him. Gong Yang naturally did not believe that Yi Tianyun had such strength. The gap between a Star Apostle and a Star Master was huge. How could he make up for it? Chapter 1855. The bold idea that Yi Tianyun was talking about was actually awakening the Star Dharma power. He would take a gamble. The level of his Star Dharma power was not low. The higher the level, the greater the suppression, and the greater the increase in his strength. With the help of Crazy Mode, he felt that he had a chance to defeat Lei Ying Temple Master. He did not have to wait until his cultivation level increased to take revenge. He could do it now. This was a gamble. He was betting that the level of his Star Dharma power was not low. When the two were combined, he would definitely reach a new height. Of course, if it was really low, he was confident that he could escape. However, he really did not want to escape. He wanted to destroy this place. Gong Yang was stunned. Awakening the Star Dharma power would destroy this place? Wasn't this a little too exaggerated? It sounded like the Star Dharma power was invincible. The Star Dharma power was very strong, but its improvement was limited. It was far from improving one's cultivation level. The stronger one's cultivation was, the more powerful the Star Dharma power would be. It was not the Star Dharma power that made one extremely powerful. This could not be reversed. But Lei Ying Temple Master is a Star Master. Even if your Star Dharma power is very strong, it is very difficult to kill someone of a higher level. Listen to me, hurry up and escape. Gong Yang stomped his feet angrily and pushed Yi Tianyun out. You should not have appeared to save me. You should have waited for things to calm down before sneaking away. Am I supposed to just watch you die? Yi Tianyun said with a smile. It doesn't matter if I die. At least you can save this place, right? Gong Yang shook his head. He felt that as long as Yi Tianyun could save the entire palace and his hometown, it would be equivalent to saving him. Don't worry, I can not only save you, but I can also save this place. Yi Tianyun dragged him towards the altar. I'll go up and awaken first. Protect me. With that, he stepped onto the altar. The surroundings were still empty. Everyone had gone out to search for Yi Tianyun and to catch the Star Apostles who had escaped. This was a critical period. As for those Star Apostles who had risen up, they would temporarily stay in a certain area. When a certain number of people had accumulated, they would awaken the Star Dharma idol in one go. Gong Yang watched as Yi Tianyun stepped onto the altar. He clenched his fists and said, "All right, even if I die, it will be worth it. You saved my life anyway." Gong Yang casually took the weapons of the guards and stood in front of Yi Tianyun. No matter who approached, he would kill without mercy. As soon as Yi Tianyun stepped onto the altar, he quickly began to sense his Dharma idol. Just as he began to sense it, the dense patterns on the ground began to surge towards him. After a wave of energy entered his body, it instantly shot up into the sky, straight into the sky. At that moment, the five-colored Emperor Dragon in his body churned and actually rushed into the void along the beam of light. He did not know where it went. Yi Tianyun didn't care about this. His soul consciousness had already followed the pillar of light into the star in the sky. He felt as if he had entered a special area. The speed at which he moved became very slow as he moved up layer by layer. This is a first-level Star Dharma idol. Yi Tianyun sensed the rings of stars around him. There were Golden Snake Star, Dragon Horse Star, Iron Hammer Star, and so on. However, he felt that he could still go up. He continued to move forward, and without much difficulty, he rushed into the area of the second-level Star Dharma idol. There were also many stars here, such as Giant Ape Star, Giant Eagle Star, Golden Hammer Star, Dragon Snake Star, and so on. However, he didn't care about this place at all. He continued to move up. He needed a higher-level Star Dharma idol above the 5th level. To turn the tables, he needed at least a first-level Star Dharma idol, which was a level higher than that of the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. Only then could he suppress the power of the Star Dharma idol. Under the suppression of power, the opponent's power would be weakened, and he would have the advantage. However, it was too difficult to rush to the 4th or 5th level. Otherwise, there would be plenty of people at the 4th and 5th level. Awakening the Star Dharma idol depended on one's own understanding and constantly rushing up. If one couldn't rush up, he could only choose his own Star Dharma idol. If he hesitated, it would consume too much mental energy, which would lead to failure. However, there were some who couldn't awaken the Star Dharma idol. It wasn't because he was hesitant, but because he couldn't sense it. Yi Tianyun could easily sense it, which meant that he was quite talented in this area. Soon, he rushed to the third-level Star Dharma idol again. However, he didn't stop and continued to rush forward. Third-level Star Dharma idol. When Gongyang saw this, he was stunned by the scene. He could see which area Yi Tianyun had entered. Now that Yi Tianyun had entered the third-level star field, it meant that he could choose any star and be on the same level as the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. Ta, 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 a group of guards quickly rushed in from all directions. After entering, they saw that Yi Tianyun was choosing his Star Dharma idol. When they saw it clearly, they were all stunned. Third-level Star Dharma idol? This is impossible, right? Didn't he come up from below? How could he communicate with the third-level star field? This is impossible, right? Did he really come up from below? For a moment, they were really stunned. Yi Tianyun's situation had given them a strong shock. The reason why cultivators in the lower realm were looked down upon was not only because their status was too low, but also because their talent was very low. Their Star Dharma idol level was really low. Most of them were only first level, and most of them didn't even have a level. Second-level Star Dharma idols were already burning incense, so it was normal that they didn't think much of it. As for the deacon, he didn't even need to test it and directly ordered Yi Tianyun to go to the mine. Anyway, even if it was a first-level Star Dharma idol, it wouldn't be interesting at all. There wouldn't be any military rewards. Now that it was a third-level Star Dharma idol, it was different. It was an existence at the level of a temple master. Its future was boundless. However, it wasn't over yet. When Yi Tianyun rushed to the fourth-level starfield, an even more surging star power appeared around him. It was as if he was surrounded by stars, extremely bright. Those that could reach the fourth-level starfield all had the support of star power. Fourth level? They were all stunned and forgot to make a move for a moment. Soon, the Thunder Shadow Temple Master appeared. He sensed the situation and immediately rushed over. When he saw the fourth-level star power, he was also stunned. Thunder Shadow Temple Master, should we make a move immediately? The guards immediately reacted and prepared to make a move. Wait, don't rush. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master raised his hand to stop them. How can I let such a talent go? Chapter 1856. Temple Master Lei Ying was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he observed the situation from the side and instructed the guards not to make a move, allowing Yi Tianyun to awaken the Star Dharma power. Gongyang gripped his weapon tightly and glared at Temple Master Lei Ying. If Temple Master Lei Ying were to attack, he would fight him to the death even if he had to give up his life. He had to protect Yi Tianyun no matter what and not let anyone disturb him. However, with his cultivation, he really could not stop Temple Master Lei Ying. Temple Master Lei Ying did not even need to use one move to kill him. When Yi Tianyun awakened the Star Dharma power, he also split a bit of his divine consciousness to observe the situation around him. When he saw Temple Master Lei Ying coming over so quickly, he was still a little wary. If Temple Master Lei Ying attacked, he could only choose to give up and escape. However, Temple Master Lei Ying's actions were similar to his expectations. After understanding a little about the mechanism here, he knew that the merit of the Temple Master was related to whether or not he could find more outstanding geniuses. The more talented the Star Apostles, the more benefits the Temple Master would receive. Therefore, he was not only betting that he could obtain a higher level Star Dharma power, but also that Temple Master Lei Ying would be calm and choose to let him awaken the Star Dharma power first. Generally speaking, the Temple Master's cultivation was amazing and he was not afraid of the Star Apostles who had awakened the Star Dharma power. Even if it was a level 5 Star Dharma power, he could still kill it with one slap. No matter how talented a child was, it was impossible for him to be stronger than an adult. Even if he could become an invincible Hercules in the future, he was still weak and could be killed with one slap. This was Temple Master Lei Ying's mentality. No matter how the other party awakened, it would be meaningless. He had absolute control over the power, so he did not have to worry about anything happening. A level 4-star Dharma power. A lowly aborigine from the lower world can actually achieve a level 4-star Dharma power. This is unbelievable. Temple Master Lei Ying's eyes flashed with jealousy, but he did not attack. The rules had decided that he would not attack immediately. In his opinion, as long as he was sincere, he would definitely be able to rope him in. If he still resisted, he would kill him with one slap. The star power around Yi Tianyun once again blossomed with dazzling light. This time it was even more intense than before. It meant that he had once again stepped into a whole new level, level 5. Fifth grade star Dharma idol, Gong Yang, who was standing guard in front of Yi Tianyun, was shocked. At first, he thought that Yi Tianyun would be lucky to have a level 3-star Dharma idol. Now that Yi Tianyun had a level 4-star Dharma idol, he thought that Yi Tianyun had reached his limit. Who would have thought that he would still be able to continue rushing forward? This was simply too unbelievable. 5th level star Dharma form. Lei Ying Temple Master clenched his fists. Both his eyes and heart were engulfed by a sea of jealousy. Even the divine princes of the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land can't compare. A 5th grade star Dharma idol was considered one of the best in any force. They were geniuses among geniuses and were usually called God's sons. As long as such an existence did not seek death in the future, it would not be a problem for it to become a star venerate of the ancestral land. The guards were also dumbfounded. They had never seen a 5th-level star Dharma idol appear in front of them. Shock was shock, but nothing had stopped. Yi Tianyun felt that everything was not his limit. I can still go up and enter more powerful star field. Yi Tianyun's soul was like a sharp sword, piercing through the barrier before the starfield level and rushing to a higher peak. Finally, he reached the starfield of the level 6 star Dharma idol in one go, shocking everyone. Sixth grade. Lei Ying Temple Master was completely stunned. If he had only been slightly shocked before, this time he was completely dumbfounded. It was an existence that could only be seen but not reached. That was the level 6 star Dharma idol. Rumor had it that those who had reached the level 6 star Dharma idol would have the ability to kill those of a higher level. Even if they were 2 levels apart, they could still crush their opponents. Of course, a level 5 star Dharma idol was also amazing, but a level 6 star Dharma idol was a world of difference. No matter which level it was, it could crush its opponents. The key was that the level 6 star Dharma idol was the peak. No matter which force they went to, they would focus on training them. Moreover, it would be the most important kind, with all kinds of resources thrown at them. Oh my, what am I seeing? A level 6 star Dharma idol. Gong Yang was speechless. When he saw the vast power of the stars surrounding Yi Tianyun, it really looked like a star god had descended. The entire palace was shrouded in this light. But was it over? Still not. When others thought that Yi Tianyun was going to choose his own star Dharma idol, and even Yi Tianyun himself was about to choose his own star Dharma idol, the shadow of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon suddenly appeared in the void. The 5-colored Emperor Dragon roared at him, rolled him up, and rushed to a higher level in the void, the level 7 star field. Perhaps it could not be considered a level 7 star field. Generally speaking, a level 6 star field was the top, and there was no such thing as a level 7 star field. But right now, it was a level 7 star field, which was impossible. In the vast void, a dazzling star Dharma idol suddenly appeared, the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. The huge dragon's body flashed in the void, and all the stars below it suddenly became dim. Everything seemed so insignificant under the light of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. Even the level 6 star Dharma idol seemed so small in front of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's star field. The level 6 star Dharma idol was as dazzling as the sun, but in front of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon, it was as weak as a candle. Everyone was dumbfounded. Yi Tianyun was also shocked. He thought it was over. After all, reaching the level 6 star field was the top. Choosing the level 6 star Dharma idol was basically the end. He was very satisfied with this result. Obtaining a top star Dharma idol was already very amazing. However, He saw a hint of disdain in the five-colored Emperor Dragon's eyes. It was disdainful of the star Dharma idols of the level 6 star fields. It was even mocking him for wanting to choose a level 6 star Dharma idol. Boom! The five-colored divine light shrouded Yi Tianyun. The power of the star Dharma idol began to pour into his soul and body. God, what am I seeing? A level 7 star Dharma idol. In their minds, the highest level was the level 6 star field. Now that a level 7 had appeared, it was simply a miracle. It wasn't just the guards inside the palace that were shocked. Even the forces outside saw a brand new celestial body appear in the void above the rank 6 region. Chapter 1857. Strange phenomenon. It's definitely a strange phenomenon. Above grade 6, can there be a higher star domain? This is incredible. Could this be the unique star Dharma aspect recorded in the legends? A long time ago, there were rumors of a unique star Dharma aspect. Now, it has appeared. Who exactly has this star Dharma aspect? Quick, go and find it for me. No matter the price, we have to find this person and rope him in. A unique star Dharma aspect, how enviable. If he survives, he will be a genius of his generation, but if he dies, he will be nothing. When the patriarchs of the various ancestral lands saw this star Dharma aspect, they all sighed. They all chose to send out experts to search for this person, wanting to rope him in and take him for themselves. All star Dharma aspects were common. For example, it was very likely that several people in a faction would have the star Python aspect. The star Dharma aspect that appeared this time was a unique star Dharma aspect. Not to mention 1 in 10,000, it was the only one in the entire world. Unless the cultivator with this star Dharma aspect died, this unique star Dharma aspect could not be transferred to someone else. The star lords of the various ancestral lands went crazy, searching for Yi Tianyun. In the palace, the Thunder Shadow Temple Master almost knelt down. A unique star Dharma aspect. Those who knew a little would know what was going on. Those who did not know were stunned. They did not know that there was a higher level than grade 6 star Dharma aspects. A unique star Dharma aspect, a unique star Dharma aspect. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master was about to go crazy. What kind of monster was he facing, especially a native from the lower realm? This was even more shocking. This was the existence of an overlord of the present age. Once his cultivation increased, he would really be the overlord of the present age, and no one could match him. It was not that there were no unique Dharma aspects in history, but there were still a few of them. However, these unique existences were extremely rare, and each of them was a top almighty. The prerequisite was that they could survive and eventually become stronger. Only then could they be the overlord of the present age. For example, if Yi Tianyun was recruited by a faction, he would definitely be attacked. The other factions would not allow such an overlord of the present age to exist in another faction. Thus, if they didn't protect themselves properly, they would die in the cradle before they could become strong. After a while, Yi Tianyun was finally done. A five-colored Emperor Dragon appeared beside the Chaos Core in his body. This time, the five-colored Emperor Dragon was different. It had turned into a stone statue and was circling the Chaos Core. So this five-colored Emperor Dragon flew out to wait for me in that star area. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He felt that it was ridiculous for him to want to choose a level 6 star Dharma idol. It would be such a pity if he really chose it. There was obviously a stronger existence, but he chose a 6th grade star Dharma idol. Wasn't that a joke? Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations to this little friend. To be able to obtain a unique star aspect, this is the honor of our Lightning Divine Hall. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master clapped his hands and walked over with a smile. His smile was as friendly as it could be, as though he was looking at his own father. The other guards looked at each other. This temple master of theirs changed his attitude really quickly. A second ago, he said that he wanted to kill Yi Tianyun's entire family. The next second, he seemed to be greeting his family and friends, and was just short of kneeling down. Thunder Shadow Temple Master, if I remember correctly, you wanted to kill me previously, and you even sent people everywhere to capture me. You said that if you caught me, you would cut me into 1,000 pieces. Yi Tianyun wasn't surprised by this attitude. He had stayed here for a while and roughly understood the situation. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so confident. At the same time, seeing the Thunder Shadow Temple Master constantly searching for him, that furious expression was still fresh in his memory. Cough, cough, cough. Those were all words of anger. Now, I apologize for what I did. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master rubbed his palms and said with a smile, "How about this? No matter what you want or want to do, as long as it's within my capabilities, I will compensate you." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master threw caution to the wind. He just wanted to build a good relationship with Yi Tianyun. He knew that the experts in the ancestors' land were definitely looking for him, so he had to build a good relationship with Yi Tianyun before those elders came. After leaving this palace, they wouldn't be able to see each other anymore. The next time they saw each other, they would probably have to kneel down to talk, instead of standing up. Gong Yang, who was at the side, put down his weapon and couldn't help but shake his head. This was the treatment of talent. The stronger the talent, the better the treatment. 1 second, he was an enemy, and the next, he became a friend. He finally knew why Yi Tianyun said to take a gamble. But wasn't this different from what he thought? Was he going to collude with the celestial terminus ancestors' land? He sighed. In the face of such a huge force, it wasn't wrong to be willing to bow down. "You can compensate me with anything?" Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Yes. As long as it's within my capabilities, I will definitely do it for you." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master said with a smile. "Then can you give me my hometown now?" Yi Tianyun asked. "This." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master rubbed his hands and said, "This has to be reported. I don't have the ability to approve it. After all, I don't have the ability to unlock that big formation. But don't worry, there won't be a problem. As long as it's reported, there won't be a problem for it to be approved." What military merit? In front of this talent, it was nothing. Military merit was definitely important, but in the case of amazing talent, it was just a reward. In this case, it's not something you can give me. With my current talent, I can just ask the elders and get it easily, Yi Tianyun said with a cold smile. This. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master wiped his cold sweat. This was true. When Yi Tianyun was taken away, he would definitely be praised to the sky. Anything would be a matter of a word. "How about this? I'll change to another request." Yi Tianyun looked at him and said with a faint smile. "What request?" The Thunder Shadow Temple Master's eyes lit up. As long as he could please Yi Tianyun, anything was not a problem. "It's very simple. I hate all the guards here. I wonder if I can kill all of them." Yi Tianyun said something explosive calmly. What? The guards were dumbfounded. What was going on? They were actually going to be killed. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master's face darkened. He naturally knew why Yi Tianyun did this. This was the time for revenge. Yes. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master maintained his smile and said, "As long as you like it, you can do whatever you want with them." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master waved his hand and said sternly, "Why aren't you coming over obediently and kneeling in front of this brother?" The slave mark could not resist. As for those without the slave mark, they had to come over and kneel down obediently. Chapter 1858. A group of guards abandoned them just like they were abandoning ants. Although Yi Tianyun would have an extremely high status after he became an expert and could decide life and death with a word, it was really disappointing that he didn't even protect them now. Not to mention the Thunder Shadow Temple Master, even the other Temple Masters and Elders felt the same way. Or it could be said that this was the culture of the Celestial Pole ancestral land. The power of the strongest was the greatest and they could punish anything. Thunder Shadow Temple Master, this, are we going to use it too? The guards were about to cry. They weren't natives from the lower domain. They didn't have slave marks. The advantages of being natives were not small, but now they were being pushed to the edge of a fire pit. "Yes, you better do as I say now." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master glared and a sharp murderous aura surged towards the guards, indicating for them to quickly kneel down and obey the order. "If you don't do as I say, I will exterminate your entire family." Sacrificing one person to save everyone else was the most cost-effective way to go about it. The guards' faces turned pale. If that was the case, was this the only way? Then they all knelt down and obeyed the Thunder Shadow Temple Master's order. Is this okay? They can be dealt with at any time. Whether you do it yourself or I do it, there won't be any problem. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master continued to rub his hands and smile. He wasn't angry at all. In reality, he was filled with resentment and anger towards Yi Tianyun. However, he wanted Yi Tianyun to become good friends with him. This loss was worth it. Everything was for his own benefit. Everything else could be abandoned. Yi Tianyun looked at the group of guards in front of him and shook his head. He had to say that it was a tragedy to be born in such a force. Everything had to be used as cannon fodder when something happened. Not enough. Yi Tianyun looked at the Thunder Shadow Temple Master and smiled. Not enough. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master's heart was filled with anger. He had even abandoned so many of his subordinates. What else was there to be dissatisfied with? However, he still suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a suppressed voice, "Is there anything else you need? I will personally handle it for you." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master was very angry, but he could only smile and welcome it. He really wanted to kill Yi Tianyun, but killing him would be a huge loss. If he could establish a good relationship with Yi Tianyun, when Yi Tianyun became a powerful elder or even a Star Lord here, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land. It's very simple. Kill yourself. That's my final request. Yi Tianyun looked at him and said calmly. What? The Thunder Shadow Temple Master suspected that he had heard wrongly. He gritted his teeth and said coldly, "Did you say something wrong? You want me to commit suicide?" "That's right. You can't possibly think that I'll let you go so easily, right? You chased me for so long. If it wasn't for my talent, would you treat me like this?" Yi Tianyun said coldly, "From the beginning, I wouldn't let you go. As long as you commit suicide, I won't kill your entire clan." Brother Tianyun. Gong Yang was dumbfounded. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. However, he was anxious and it was too late to persuade him. If Yi Tianyun said this, there would be a huge consequence. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master would be furious. Ha ha ha. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master looked up to the sky and laughed. A bolt of divine lightning erupted from behind him and a huge phantom of a thunder dragon circled behind him. His star Dharma form was the Thunder Dragon Star. Under his eruption, the Thunder Dragon Star in the void flickered slightly and released power to connect with the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. Crackle, crackle. Lightning flashed in all directions. Under the lightning, the hard ground was left with a few charred marks. A slight touch and one would be electrocuted into charcoal. Seems like you really think of yourself as a big shot. After the Thunder Shadow Temple Master laughed, he looked at Yi Tianyun with a crazy gaze and sneered, "I admit that your future is limitless. You can become a big shot even in the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land. But that's in the future, not now. Originally, I could satisfy any request of yours, but now you want to kill me. Seems like a native is a native." His thinking is so naive. Killing a being with a unique star Dharma form is really exciting. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master stretched out his hand and a Thunder Shadow Whip appeared in his palm. It complemented the power of his Thunder Dragon Star and increased its power to the maximum. "You think you can kill me with your level 3 star Dharma form?" Yi Tianyun sneered. "I say you're a native. Even if you have a high-level star Dharma form, you're still a native. Do you really think you can kill me with this star Dharma form? The difference in cultivation can't be bridged with just this star Dharma form." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master clicked his tongue and said, "It's a pity that such a good star Dharma form is used by a native. What a waste. But if I can kill you, I'll have something to brag about in the future." The Thunder Shadow Temple Master did not hesitate. He immediately picked up the Thunder Shadow Whip and whipped it towards Yi Tianyun. Thunder Dragon Star's power was infused into the Thunder Shadow Whip and a huge Thunder Dragon appeared. It whizzed towards Yi Tianyun. The crackling and dense lightning blocked all of Yi Tianyun's escape routes, leaving him with no way to escape. Gong Yang's face turned pale. At the same time, he sighed deeply. Everything was over. Originally, if Yi Tianyun had befriended the Thunder Shadow Temple Master obediently, he might have been able to survive and find the right time to take revenge in the future. In the end, he was still too impulsive. If he had tolerated it, but to Yi Tianyun, there was no such thing as toleration. Looks like you still don't know the difference in the power of the Star Dharma form. Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, "You're still a temple master. I thought you'd be more knowledgeable and know the unique power of the Star Dharma form. Unfortunately, your knowledge is still too limited. Perhaps it's because you've been trapped here that you've become so insignificant." "My knowledge is insignificant. Then you can go to hell obediently. Think about it carefully. Whose knowledge is insignificant, ignorant lowly native?" The Thunder Shadow Temple Master did not stop attacking and continued to swing his whip forward. Yi Tianyun took a step forward and released the aura behind him. The five-colored Emperor Dragon's Star Dharma form exploded. Roar. A roar that sounded like it came from the 9 heavens was heard. The terrifying five-colored Emperor Dragon's shadow appeared behind Yi Tianyun. A terrifying and unparalleled power instantly enveloped the entire area. Lei Minglong, who had pounced forward, shrunk back behind the Thunder Shadow Temple Master like a puppy. The originally vast power of thunder and lightning suddenly became insignificant. Its power was also greatly reduced. This was the suppression of a level. To be precise, it was the suppression of the same race. Lei Minglong still had the bloodline of a dragon. The five-colored Emperor Dragon had the body of a real dragon and possessed the supreme bloodline of a real dragon. Chapter 1859. Lei Minglong shrank, causing Lei Ying Temple Master's power to shrink by a large margin. Without the strengthening of the star law, he was like a bird without wings. His power could not do much at all. How can this be? Lei Ying Temple Master, who had rushed over, felt his power suddenly disappear. There was a sense of emptiness, but more than that, he felt powerless. "Lie down." Yi Tianyun charged over and kicked Lei Ying Temple Master. The majesty of the five-colored Emperor Dragon descended from the sky. Instantly, Lei Ying Temple Master could not breathe. An irresistible feeling welled up in his heart. Thinking back to the powerlessness he felt in the past, it was only when he was facing someone above the level of Master Xing. But Yi Tianyun, who was only at the intermediate Star Apostle level, made him feel the gap between him and Master Xing. Lei Ying Temple Master did not give up struggling. He picked up the Thunder Shadow Whip and lashed out to block Yi Tianyun's kick. But suppression was suppression. Yi Tianyun's kick was even faster. Like a divine dragon swinging its tail, it came down from the void and slashed down from a long distance away. Dong! Lei Ying Temple Master was crushed to the ground. His head and body were crushed and turned into a cloud of blood mist. His soul didn't even manage to escape, and he was crushed by this kick. Killing a temple master with one kick. How terrifying. Yi Tianyun landed on the ground and stood steadily, not the slightest bit exhausted. This is the difference between the star law. It's a pity that you will never know. Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. Combined with crazy mode and the star law, his power was increased by 50 times. The suppression effect of the five-colored Emperor Dragon and the explosive effect stacked together, creating an absolute crushing power, especially the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. Without Lei Minglong's support, he was much weaker. This was the key to Yi Tianyun's victory. He did not need to use too much power to crush Lei Ying Temple Master. Many guards were shocked and dumbfounded. Gong Yang was the same. He stared blankly at the scene, not knowing what was going on. Previously, he had thought that Yi Tianyun would not be able to fight against the Lei Ying Temple Master. But now, he was instantly killed with a single kick. His soul did not even have the chance to escape before he was kicked to death. He recalled how he had tried to persuade Yi Tianyun to run away. That was such a joke. Successfully killed the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. Obtained 12,000 star energy points. Obtained Thunder Shadow Whip, low-grade star sector level treasure, and Thunder Dragon Star, level 3. A large amount of star energy surged into his body, enough for him to become a Star Master. Coupled with the 12-fold EXP, leveling up was not difficult at all. In fact, it was relatively easy. The main thing was that he didn't need to level up anything at the moment. If he had other godly skills to level up, It would really be a bottomless pit. After all the values were calculated using only star energy, which would undoubtedly consume even more star energy. However, this simplification was not bad. The Thunder Dragon Star even has such a thing? Yi Tianyun looked at the Thunder Dragon Star in his inventory. If he used it, would he gain the power of another star aspect? But its grade was still too low, so even if he wanted it, it would not be of much use. He then turned his gaze to the other guards. The group of guards trembled, and most of them pointed their weapons at Yi Tianyun as they trembled and said, "Even if we die, we won't let you kill us as you please." They were not willing to lower their heads. Since they were going to die anyway, they would rather fight to the death. Yi Tianyun did not waste time with them. He held the Thunder Shadow Whip in his hand and rushed towards them, sweeping everything in his path. Wherever the whip landed, the guards were all whipped into meat patties. His attacks were extremely ruthless, and he did not hold back at all. They fled in all directions and did not even have the strength to resist. Were they supposed to just stand there and be beaten like idiots? However, their speed was not as fast as Yi Tianyun's. He caught up to them in an instant and then surrounded them. However, some guards were surprised to find that they were not attacked. There were several times when Yi Tianyun passed by them, but he did not attack them, as if he was deliberately letting them go. "Don't worry, I will only kill the people here, not the people from the lower world." Yi Tianyun's voice spread across the area, and the guards who worked here were stunned. After taking a closer look, it was true. Those who were not killed were all from the lower domain. It was very simple for Yi Tianyun not to kill them. They were originally from the same origin, so there was no need to kill them all. They were only here to earn some military merits. As for those who were too arrogant and forgot that they were from the lower realms, he also killed them. However, most of them put themselves in Yi Tianyun's shoes and did not forget that they came from the lower domain. Therefore, they did not attack the star apostles from the lower domain, nor did they treat them badly. They were all very friendly. This was what Yi Tianyun had discovered when he was carefully observing the situation in the palace. After Yi Tianyun killed them all, there was still a group of guards from the lower domain left. Although these guards were not killed, they still trembled and said, "Thank you for not killing us, sir. Although we are fine, what should we do next?" The temple master was dead, and the guards were all dead. They were the only ones left alive, but if the higher-ups sent people down, wouldn't they be finished? The key was that they all had the slave mark, so they could not escape even if they wanted to. Or rather, they could only stay in the celestial pole ancestral land and could not go anywhere else. Yi Tianyun looked at them and said calmly, "It's very simple. You will continue to work here, and you will do what you did in the past. The difference is that no one will care about you, and you will be able to enjoy the resources here. According to my observations these days, basically no one will come here, right? Usually, people will be sent over to pick people up, and after they leave, there will be nothing else. This is really..." They looked at each other, and the fear in their hearts was gradually suppressed. There was no one managing this Thunder Shadow Palace at all. The Thunder Shadow Temple Master was managing it, so naturally, he would not send people down to patrol or anything. There was no need for that at all. So, you can cultivate here peacefully and slowly earn military merits as usual. Yi Tianyun frowned and said, "As for the slave mark, it can't be removed for the time being. The slave mark is naturally not easy to remove. It requires a lot of military merits to exchange for it." They were dejected. The slave mark was a huge knot in their hearts, and it locked their freedom. However, when Yi Tianyun said that he couldn't remove it for the time being, it was because his level in this area was too low. If he were to level up, he might be able to remove it. No matter what, it was so satisfying just now. "We've finally exterminated those fellows." How satisfying. That's right, it was too depressing. Those guys were arrogant, and they didn't care about our lives. No matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get any recognition. Good kill. From now on, this is our territory. Chapter 1860. They had been oppressed for too long. Even if they worked hard here, it would be useless. They looked down on them. From the moment they came up, they were looked down on. They didn't see them as companions at all, but as slaves. It could be seen from the slave mark. The local cultivators didn't have slave marks, but those from the lower worlds always had slave marks, unless they had enough military merits to remove them. Otherwise, even if they became Star Masters, they would still have slave marks if they didn't remove them. However, if they really became Star Masters, they would definitely have military merits. Unless they didn't want to get rid of them, it wouldn't be a problem. But no matter what, those who came up from the lower worlds would always feel inferior. Under such circumstances, the contradictions accumulated more and more, but they couldn't resist and could only bear it silently. This time, when Yi Tianyun killed all the guards and palace masters, they felt very happy. Although they were worried, it was still a good result compared to getting rid of the pressure in their hearts. Then, Yi Tianyun started to set things up. He told them to do what they should do according to the original situation. Gongyang also awakened the Star Dharma. It wasn't a low level, it was a level 2 Star Dharma. Not everyone could be as nature-defying as Yi Tianyun. It was already very impressive to be able to obtain a level 2 Star Dharma. In the following time, Yi Tianyun didn't leave. He stayed in the Thunder Shadow Palace and looked through all kinds of information. The information here was relatively complete. It recorded the situation of the Celestial Pole ancestral lands and the other ancestral lands. The information about the other ancestral lands was more general, but the Celestial Pole ancestral lands was more detailed. He had to understand the situation of the Celestial Pole ancestral lands. Once they fought, he had to understand the other party's situation. During this time, Yi Tianyun told the Star Apostles to stay here and cultivate. They had more freedom here and could awaken the Star Dharma at will. It didn't matter if they didn't awaken the Dharma well. At least they wouldn't be transferred to places like the mines. There was one thing he couldn't change, and that was the slave mark. If they wanted to come out, they had to go through the long corridor. Therefore, the slave mark would definitely be branded on them. Unless he was at a higher level in this aspect, there was no way he could break the formation here. However, right now, he was accumulating his troops. He had them stay here for now, and when he could unlock them in the future, he would unlock them all at once and use them for himself. He was very ambitious. Since the Celestial Pole ancestral land wanted to enslave them, he would destroy it. Fellow Daoist Tianyun, bad news. Gongyang hurriedly rushed over and said, "The higher-ups have sent someone down, saying that they want to check it out." Yi Tianyun closed his book and stood up. That's strange. Why are there people coming down to check? Do they have nothing better to do? He frowned, feeling that the newcomer did not come with good intentions. He had tried his best to arrange for some star apprentices to be sent to other regions that were relatively friendly with them, instead of not sending them out at all. If they didn't send it out, they would definitely think that something had happened. Although the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land looked down on those who came from the lower realms, they were the foundation of their basic combat power. For example, the miners and the military power were all taken care of by these cannon fodder. If there were too few of them, they would immediately send someone down to hold them accountable. In order to ensure that this place was well protected, Yi Tianyun arranged for some star apprentices to be sent out. Those star apprentices all knew what was going on, but they were sent out in batches in turns, without any special treatment. Who knew that someone would still come down to check it out, and it was very likely that they felt that there were too few of them. What should we do? We don't have the Lei Ying Temple Master here. Gongyang said anxiously. If we are discovered, we will be doomed. Their cultivation levels were so low. Although Yi Tianyun's cultivation was not weak, they were not strong. If they were discovered, they would really be surrounded and killed. Calm down, leave it to me. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand, and a long robe draped over his body, covering his face. I will be the Lei Ying Temple Master. You guys just follow behind me. This. Gongyang was stunned. How could he be impersonated? Yi Tianyun didn't explain and walked out with his people. Just as they stepped out, a dissatisfied voice came from the front. Lei Ying Temple Master, you are really arrogant. You actually didn't come out to welcome us. They didn't even greet him and just barged in. What came into sight were 2 Star Masters. Their cultivation levels were early-stage Star Masters, and their levels were similar to the Lei Ying Temple Masters. No wonder they were so impudent. Lei Ying Temple Master? The leader was a man with a flaming afro. He had red hair and a burly body. He looked like a fire god. When they saw that Yi Tianyun was wrapped in a black robe, they really didn't know what was going on. Cough, cough, cough. Recently, there was a problem with my cultivation, and my whole body is burnt black. It's a little ugly, so I won't embarrass myself. As he spoke, Lei Minglong's power flashed in Yi Tianyun's body. It was the Lei Ying Temple Master's power of thunder. Gong Yang, who was standing at the side, was stunned. He was nervous just now, afraid that he would be discovered. Now, Yi Tianyun could actually release the power of the Lei Ying Temple Master. Such accurate Lei Minglong's power was quite familiar. If they didn't know beforehand that the person in front of them was Yi Tianyun in disguise, they would have really thought that the Lei Ying Temple Master had resurrected. All of this was the effect of the Lei Minglong star. After releasing it, they realized that it could really release the power of the Lei Minglong star. There was no need to swallow it into the body. All they needed to do was to use it. They just needed to pour in a little star power and they would be able to release it. Haha, I didn't think that you would have such a day. The two of them immediately believed him. Who else could fake such a familiar power? Moreover, they didn't think that the Lei Ying Temple Master would be killed. May I know why the two of you are here? Yi Tianyun went straight to the point. This time, we are here for a very simple reason. We sent out two little lowly trash from the lower worlds. Is there any problem with the palace you are managing? The one with the red afro was called Fire Lion. He had the level 3 Fire Lion star, so he simply and crudely named himself Fire Lion. As expected, they were here to inquire about this matter. It didn't exceed Yi Tianyun's expectations. That's right. If it weren't for the two of us, I'm afraid that your position would have been lost. The other one was called Wind Ape. He had the power of the Wind Ape star and was also at level 3. Both of them were not weak. Although they weren't temple masters, their positions were not much different from the temple masters. Yi Tianyun squinted and sized up the two of them. If they really fought, it would take some effort. After all, the suppression of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon would not have much effect on them. Of course, he wasn't worried in this aspect. There was no suppression of the same race, but in terms of power, he would absolutely crush them. This was because he had already broken through to the early stage of Star Master cultivation. If he used all his star energy, he would be able to increase it. Chapter 1861. But this time, we'll help you cover it up for the time being. Next time, please be more careful. I know you're usually vicious and merciless. If you get angry, a group of people will suffer. Fire Lion said with a smile, but you still have to take it easy. Don't go too far, understand? That's right. If you don't reach the target, you won't be able to keep your position as Temple Master. We'll let it go this time, but don't do it again. This time, we'll say that you didn't have enough resources, which led to this situation. When the time comes, we can help you apply for the next batch of resources. Don't forget to give us some back. Wind Ape laughed sinisterly at the side. Sure enough, the three of them were in cahoots. They had a good relationship and had probably done this kind of thing many times. Most of the resources that were released were taken away, and only a small portion would be released to the various large worlds. Of course, of course. Yi Tianyun pretended to agree. He would drive the two of them away first and settle down for a while. Oh right, are there any good goods this time? The female disciples that came up last time were not bad. Their personalities were fierce, and their resistance was not small. I like them. Fire Lion licked his lips, his eyes full of intense light. Are there any left for yourself this time? I remember that you often left some for yourself to enjoy, and some were even sucked dry by you. Hey, you still have the nerve to talk about Lei Ying. Aren't you the same? Sometimes, you just choke people to death. What a bummer. Wind Ape chuckled and said, I'm more gentle. I'll torture them slowly. The female disciples who came up from below have stronger personalities. They climbed up bit by bit, but in the end, they were tortured bit by us until they collapsed. Everything turned into nothing. It's really quite exciting. It's not just exciting. I like to see their desperate and unwilling expressions. Torture them to death bit by bit. Their stubborn gazes make me want to stop. One by one, they described their disgusting and perverted behavior, which made Yi Tianyun silent. Gong Yang clenched his fists, and his nails dug into his palms, but he didn't notice. He could only lower his head and look at the ground, not daring to raise his head to look at Fire Lion and the others. If the anger in his eyes was seen, he would reveal something. It seems that you guys like to play like this usually. A cold voice sounded in their ears. Hey, what do you mean by usually? You sound like you don't usually play like this. Of the 10 female disciples, I reckon that not more than one will be able to escape from your grasp. Fire Lion didn't hear the cold tone in his voice. He slapped Yi Tianyun's shoulder and said with a smile, "You often use Lei Minglong's power of thunder and lightning to burn them bit by bit. How can you talk about us? Oh, then you can die first." Yi Tianyun dragged it over, and with an extremely berserk strength, he punched the flame lion. With a boom, the flame lion was turned into a ball of flames, but it quickly condensed to the side. However, his face was pale, and he had lost a life. The Fire Lion Star's special ability was a bit like the phoenix's rebirth from the ashes. After dying once, he could be resurrected again. Who are you? You are definitely not the Thunder Shadow Palace Master. Fire Lion immediately sensed that the power that attacked him just now was not Lei Minglong's power, but some other power, which made his heart palpitate. Oh, you can even be resurrected. This ability is not weak. Yi Tianyun looked at the reborn Fire Lion. It had some blood relations with the Phoenix clan, so it was not surprising that it could have the ability to be reborn from the ashes. The wind ape at the side also erupted with its strongest power. A huge wind ape appeared behind it. The wind ape was covered in green fur. It hammered its chest and let out a huge roar. Its mouth was like a hurricane as it charged over. In an instant, it enveloped Yi Tianyun's area. Yi Tianyun did not dodge and stood in place. After being blown by the hurricane, the black robe on his body was blown away, revealing Yi Tianyun's true appearance. As expected, it's not the Thunder Shadow Palace Master. Their pupils constricted. The wind ape's attack just now was even more ineffective. For a moment, they became vigilant. They had not expected the Thunder Shadow Palace Master to be dead. Gong Yang was blown to the side by the wind. Because Yi Tianyun had helped to block most of it, he was only blown away. He had not expected Yi Tianyun to attack, but after thinking carefully, he immediately understood what had happened. He clapped his hands and said angrily, "Seal off the entire area." The guards outside immediately sealed off the rest of the area. Even the entrance to the palace was quickly sealed, not allowing the two to escape. Good, I didn't expect all the guards here to be replaced. Fire Lion looked around and said coldly, "I don't know where you came from, or which faction you came from, but you are not from our faction. Do you think these guards will obey your orders? Kill him for me." Fire Lion pointed at Yi Tianyun. Gong Yang, who was beside him, actually attacked Yi Tianyun, completely unable to control himself. Fellow Daoist Tianyun, quickly dodge. I can't control myself. The imprint in his soul began to flicker, forcing him to give orders. This was the effect of the slave imprint. All the guards had the slave imprint, so they could not control themselves and rushed toward Yi Tianyun, wanting to kill him. They were originally companions, but in the blink of an eye, they became enemies, wanting nothing more than to cut Yi Tianyun into pieces. Ha ha ha, it seems that these guards all have the slave imprint. They are all lowly aboriginals from below. Although I don't know how they conspired with you, let's see how you deal with them. Fire Lion laughed loudly, preparing to watch a fierce battle between his own people. Shut your smelly mouth. The five-colored Emperor Dragon immediately appeared behind Yi Tianyun, releasing a dazzling light in the air, causing Fire Lion and Wind Ape stars to dim. They were immediately suppressed by the difference in level, and their effects were greatly weakened. This power. They were stunned as they looked at the five-colored Emperor Dragon behind Yi Tianyun. It's that mysterious expert with a unique star last time. It's actually you. They had naturally seen the huge commotion last time, but they had never expected that the mysterious expert with a unique star would actually appear in front of them. Boom. Yi Tianyun's foot has already reached the fire lion and the fire lion phantom behind it, directly trampling them to the ground, unable to move. This violent power did not need any embellishment, and it could crush everything. You gave the order, right? Then I'll send you to hell. Yi Tianyun stomped on his head. Fire Lion's eyes widened, and he could not even say a word before he was crushed. This time, with his head crushed, there was no resurrection effect to speak of. He was completely dead. Chapter 1862. The Fire Lion was easily crushed. The Wind Ape didn't even have a chance to save it. It could only watch helplessly as its companion was killed. Let's go. The Wind Ape was terrified. The Fire Lion, which was almost as strong as him, had been killed in an instant. Especially when he felt that terrifying unique star aspect, his legs kept trembling. Therefore, it didn't care about revenge at all. It turned around and fled. Survival was the most important thing. Everything else had to stand aside. It was a joke to avenge its brother. If even the Fire Lion was killed in a second, it would be the same for it. Wind, come. The Wind Ape let out a low roar, and the Wind Ape's starry star Dharma idol appeared behind it. A hurricane gushed out from its back, and its speed increased by several times in an instant. It turned into an extreme afterimage and disappeared. Oh no, we can't let him escape. Gong Yang's expression changed. He knew the situation was bad when he saw the Wind Ape escape. If they escaped, they would soon be discovered. At that time, they wouldn't even have time to escape. Swish. A pale green light spun in front of it and blocked the Wind Ape at an even faster speed. You want to escape with this speed? Yi Tianyun blocked the Wind Ape with an indifferent expression. The green dragon scales on the five-colored Emperor Dragon's body became even more dazzling. It seemed that the five-colored Emperor Dragon had activated the wind attribute. The five-colored Emperor Dragon had a total of 5 attributes. They were metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The power of each attribute was at the extreme level. Now that the wind attribute was activated, it could instantly burst out with astonishing speed, 10 times the speed. It wasn't like before. Now, it could stack up to 10 times the speed. It was already extremely terrifying. The Wind Ape's speed was only 3 or 4 times. However, Yi Tianyun could explode with 10 times the speed and crush the Wind Ape. Oh no! The Wind Ape's face turned pale. It turned around and wanted to escape. However, Yi Tianyun's kick had already sent it flying into the solid palace. His sturdy physique was still caved in by this kick, and he became half dead. Cough, cough, cough. Your speed, how can it be so fast? The Wind Ape crawled up with great difficulty. He was most proud of his speed. Even if he couldn't win, he could still escape. He had lost count of how many times he had successfully escaped by relying on his speed. But now, he had lost to Yi Tianyun, and he had been caught up to so easily. That feeling of defeat made him lose the courage to run away. How could he resist when he had lost the ability to escape that he was so proud of? You can go down and ask your companions about this. At some point in time, Yi Tianyun had already arrived in front of the Wind Ape. He directly stomped on the Wind Ape. He didn't use any fancy moves, he just stomped on the Wind Ape. To deal with them, there was no need to release more power. Just relying on the Star Dharma idol was enough to crush them. He did not even need to activate crazy mode. The 5-colored Emperor Dragon was enough to suppress him. This was the effect of a high-level star law. Successfully killed Wind Ape. Obtained 12,000 star energy points. Wind Ape Planet, Wind Ape Divine Boots. Just like when he killed the Thunder Shadow Temple Master, he obtained the corresponding star energy. It was the same for the Fire Lion. After killing it, he obtained star energy. Not only could he use it, but he could also gift it to others. However, gifting it to others was a bit shocking. Under normal circumstances, stars could not be given to others at will. Only under extreme circumstances could the power of the stars be transferred away. However, that would require an extremely high price to be paid in order to transfer it away. Unless it was a very high-level star law, no one would be willing to pay such a high price. Therefore, Yi Tianyun's star law would be targeted. As for whether or not it would be forcibly taken away, it was hard to say. The higher the level of the star law, the more difficult it would be to take it away. It could even be said that it could not be taken away, and there was a possibility of a backlash. Killed them all. Gong Yang and the others stared blankly at the corpses of the fire lion and the wind ape. They had all died in the blink of an eye, which also meant that this place was finished and could no longer be used as a place to live. If the two of them did not go back to report, it meant that there was something wrong with this place. They would definitely continue to send people to investigate. Isn't this a bit too impulsive? If we endure it. One of the guards shook his head. If they endured it, they could continue to stay here. This place was rich in resources and was very safe. They did not need to go to other places to do hard labor. This place was definitely the best place to stay. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He looked over and said in a low voice, "Endure it. Give up your Dao companion and let them play with her. Of course, I know that you do not have a Dao companion with you now, but there is no lack of female disciples here. Perhaps they are not related to you, but what if they are your relatives and friends? I only know that there are some things that cannot be endured. Compared to enduring it, I want to be a person more." The reason why he was angry was not only because the two of them were beasts, but also because if one day Shi Shuiyun and the others came, wouldn't they also suffer the same situation? Therefore, his anger exploded in an instant, without any hesitation. Yi Tianyun's words made those female disciples extremely grateful. If they were really given up, they would definitely resist to the death and defend their last bit of dignity. From the bottom up, which one of them did not have a fiery temper? That's right. If it weren't for the fact that I am not as strong as them, I would have beaten them up. God knows how many female disciples they have harmed. Gong Yang said with hatred. Cultivator Tianyun's action is to vent his anger. I agree with Cultivator Tianyun's action. In fact, it is almost time for us to leave. We just need to blend in with them. It is better than being randomly assigned without any choice. The guards who had such thoughts all shook their heads. Everyone had a different way of thinking, and it was normal for them to be selfish. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He felt that it was impossible for him to lead this group of people, or rather, he would not be able to do anything if he stayed with them. If anything happened to him one day, it would all be because of their betrayal. The fact that they had such thoughts meant that their thoughts were extremely terrifying, and it was easy for them to become fence-sitters. These kinds of people were not rare. After this incident, Yi Tianyun had seen many things. Originally, he had wanted to lead them to fight their way out of this place, or to form an alliance of star disciples from the lower world. Now, it seemed that he had been too naive. Instead of relying on them, he might as well rely on the forces under him to rise. Chapter 1863. Those who walked different paths could not make plans together. Many of the star apostles who had been promoted were not as strong-willed. All they wanted was to survive. Or rather, they did not care about it. Since they did not have a cultivation partner, they would not be handed over. Therefore, they had nothing to do with the other female star apostles. Little did they know that this was the scariest thing. When it was their turn, they would be indifferent and numb to the idea of resistance. Only then would they know what despair was. Yi Tianyun had wanted to act alone for a long time. It was best for him to act alone. Now that the palace was no longer safe, it was time for him to leave. Brother Tianyun, are you leaving just like that? Gong Yang followed him in. Yes, do you have a better proposal? Yi Tianyun said with a smile. He had a good impression of Gong Yang, as long as Gong Yang was not like the other star apostles who had completely lost their humanity. Well, I really don't. Gong Yang was a little embarrassed. He really did not have a good suggestion, but after thinking for a while, he said, "Why don't we go to the army together? With Brother Tianyun's ability, it will be easy for you to make contributions and earn military merits." Gong Yang did not know that Yi Tianyun did not have a slave mark, so he thought that Yi Tianyun also had a slave mark. With a slave mark, he would have to make contributions or he would not be able to get rid of the slave mark. Go to the army. Yi Tianyun squinted. Yes, this is the only way we can go now. We have to lower our heads. If I could get rid of the slave mark, I would definitely leave this damned place and never come back, Gong Yang said with disgust. This place is too disgusting. There is no freedom at all. That is true, but I will not go. You guys go ahead. If we are fated, we will meet again. Yi Tianyun thought for a while and rejected. All right then, brother Tianyun, take care. Gong Yang cupped his fists and turned to leave. If he continued to stay here, he would definitely die. If he left this place quickly, he could pretend that he came from somewhere else and whitewash himself. Looking at Gong Yang's back, Yi Tianyun's biggest thought now was to claim the Chaos Realm, his home, as his own. In the lower realm, he was a king, but here, it was not something he could control. As long as the seal couldn't be broken, the primal Chaos Realm would belong to the Empyrean Pole Ancestral Land. The main thing was that the Empyrean Terminus Ancestral Land could send people down at any time. This way, they could control the primal Chaos Realm at will. Unless he destroyed the passageway. However, if he wanted to destroy the passageway, it would be very difficult for him to do so with his current cultivation base. Perhaps because this was the foundation of the Empyrean Terminus Ancestral Land, the palace was very sturdy and basically unbreakable. If he wanted to break through it, he would have to increase his cultivation by a large margin or become an astral rune master. A star inscription master was an enhanced version of a divine inscription master from the lower realms. They were an even stronger existence. Most of the star rune arrays here were at the first level, and some were even at the second level. It was extremely difficult to destroy them. According to his speculation, he would need to be at least a late star inscription master to be able to break them. It seemed that a star inscription master was very powerful, but in fact, the palace was a whole. There were many arrays accumulated, and the superimposed defense was very terrifying. If it was just one, a late star apostle could break it. However, he was now facing a whole. Therefore, it was difficult to break it, and the result was that he could not cut off the connection to the Chaos Realm. But if he cut off the connection to the Chaos Realm, how could he go back? The Chaos Realm was equivalent to a small world. If it was destroyed, the small world would collapse. At that time, all the lives inside would be finished. Therefore, it was naturally not advisable to destroy it. The best way was to dig out this small world. That was the best way. But to dig out the small world was equivalent to destroying the entire palace, which was not easy. This was the reason why he was reluctant to leave. If something happened, the Chaos Realm would be destroyed. When he told Gong Yang that he wanted to leave, he did not really mean to leave. Instead, he hovered nearby and paid close attention to the situation here. He was waiting for an opportunity, which was when the system upgrade was completed. Once the upgrade was completed, the star inscription master level would increase rapidly, and when he reached a higher level, he would be able to break the palace. If he really wanted to make contributions in exchange for freedom and home, it would be like a fart. With his strength, he did not know how many giant beasts he would have to kill to earn enough military merits. Besides, the celestial terminus ancestral land was so disgusting. Why would he work for them? This was not Yi Tianyun's style. If he wanted to be ruthless, he would be ruthless. Soon, the star apostles in the palace quickly left the place and took star boats to the corresponding areas. Only Yi Tianyun did not leave. The star apostles even tried to persuade Yi Tianyun to go with them, but he refused. Some star apostles shook their heads, thinking that Yi Tianyun was courting death. He was not weak, but there were more experts in the celestial terminus ancestral land. He is still not leaving. It seems that he wants to stay here until he dies. God knows. The celestial terminus ancestral land is much stronger than the Thunder Shadow Temple Master. He is strong, but facing the entire celestial terminus ancestral land, he is courting death. What a pity. It's rare for him to save us, but he is a little stubborn. The star apostles sighed. They felt that Yi Tianyun was throwing an egg at a rock. Even his unique star idol was meaningless. However, their vision was indeed too low. This unique star idol was really Yi Tianyun's capital. As long as he shouted to the outside world, many people from the celestial terminus ancestral land would extend an olive branch to him. However, they did not know that Yi Tianyun did not have a slave imprint. After they left, Yi Tianyun hid in a corner and paid close attention to the situation here. He also absorbed the pure star power here and obtained star energy points. Without killing any enemies, this was the best way to earn EXP. Many a little makes a mickle, and it was better than nothing. As time passed, there were more and more star apostles in the palace. They were all very confused and did not know what was going on. After coming up, they arrived at an unfamiliar place. Without anyone to guide them, they wandered around like idiots. Yi Tianyun did not go out to help guide them and let them do whatever they wanted. Finally, after many years, an unfamiliar star boat flew over. "They're here." Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he said with a smile, "They're here to deliver experience. I wonder what level of expert they will send this time." Chapter 1864. The star boat soon landed. The star apostles on the ground stared blankly at it, wondering who would get off the star boat. Then, 3 figures walked out of the boat with powerful auras. As soon as they appeared, they were pushed back and out of breath. "Hey! Why aren't there any guards in the Thunder Shadow Palace? Where did they all die?" The leader of the group was a burly man covered in rocks. The golden rock star Dharma idol could be faintly seen behind him. As soon as the Dharma form appeared, it pressed down on them like a mountain, making it hard for them to breathe. His name was Kim Yun-yong, and he was a middle-stage Star Master. He was even stronger than the Thunder Shadow Temple Master and the others. The Golden Rock Star had a terrifying weight, which could crush people to death with its terrifying weight. However, its grade was not very high, only at the 3rd level. Level 4 and above were very rare. Most of them were at level 3, which was already considered very good. After all, compared to the 3rd level, there were many more 2nd-level Star Dharma forms. Generally speaking, it would be good if there was 1 in 10,000 people with a 3rd-level Star Dharma form. It was 1 in 10,000. As for the 4th-level Star Dharma idol, it was raised to 1 in a million. Its rarity was even more shocking. As for the 5th-level Star Dharma forms, they were even rarer. Judging from their state, they must be of high status. "Yeah, where are the guards? We've already sent people down to investigate, but there was no movement at all. Now, it seems that something has really happened here." The other man's body was red, as if he were surrounded by flames. If you looked closely, you would see that it was a fire spirit snake wrapped around his body. He was the Dharma form of the fire spirit snake star, an early-stage Star Master, and also a 3rd-level Star Dharma form. His name was Ding Shi. "What are you looking at? Kneel down." The other man was a yellow-skinned Dharma form of the Earth Dragon Star. The looming Earth Dragon behind him was the best proof. This overbearing and arrogant man was called Xiao Shalong. Hearing this order, the Star Apostles from the lower world knelt down one after another. They were all branded as slaves, so they could only obey and kneel. They jumped off the star boat and glanced around. Kim Yun-yong, who seemed to be their leader, frowned and said, "There really isn't a single guard here. Everyone seems to be walking around at will. From the look of it, something big must have happened. Let's go in and take a look." Just as they were about to walk into the palace, a group of Star Apostles were kneeling at the entrance. When Kim Yun-yong and the others approached, their aura surged and they were sent flying. "Get lost, don't block the way." Kim Yun-yong and the others had disgusted expressions on their faces. They were the ones who had made Xing Tu kneel on the ground, but now they were saying that they were blocking the way. It was extremely disgusting. However, this was their personality. Even if they were in the wrong, they would not admit it. The group of Star Apostles who had been sent flying had only suffered minor injuries. After all, he had only used his aura to push them away and not directly attack them. If they attacked directly, they wouldn't be able to survive no matter how many lives they had. Their faces were filled with terror, but they were mostly filled with anger. However, there was nothing they could do to resist. Regardless of whether it was in terms of strength or slave imprints, they were the type that couldn't be resisted. After Kim Yun-yong and the others entered, they walked around and immediately understood what was going on. All the guards are gone, and even the palace master is missing. Kim Yun-yong and the others frowned. No wonder there hasn't been any news. The 2 patrol envoys that were sent here are also missing. Could it be that other forces sneaked in and killed our people? That's the only possibility. It can't be those lowly natives who killed them, right? They all have slave imprints on them, so they didn't even have the chance to resist. Dingshi felt bored and kicked the star apostle who was kneeling at the side. He was half dead from the kick, and it looked like he was about to die. Look, it's obvious that the slave imprints are still there. It's definitely not that the slave imprints have disappeared. Dingshi shook his feet and released some flames to clean his feet. He felt that he had dirted his feet by kicking them away. Looks like this matter has to be reported quickly. I thought that there was a dereliction of duty here, but it turns out that such a big thing has happened. But what's the point of them killing the guards and palace master here? Nothing has changed here. It's just that some guards and palace master are dead. Kim Yunyong frowned. He really couldn't understand. Who knows? Dingshi spread his hands. Anyway, we were in charge of investigating. Now that we know the situation, it's time to go back and report. Just as they were about to turn and leave, the star apostle gathered his courage and asked, What exactly is going on? Are we going to stay here forever? Or are you not going to bring us along? Dingshi turned his head and looked at this person. His expression was calm and didn't seem to be affected at all. The next second, he quickly waved his hand, and flames swept out, engulfing a group of star apostles. Screams came from within the flames. You lowly natives, how dare you speak to me in such a tone? Dingshi sneered. I'll let you have a good taste of these flames. I hope you'll be smarter in your next life and don't make such a stupid mistake. The other star apostles shrank back. They were all top experts from the lower domain, but they suddenly realized how powerless they were. There was no way they could defend themselves. They looked at the group of star apostles being burned to ashes. They were clearly chatting just a moment ago, but in the next moment, they were burned to ashes. Boom. At this moment, the palace doors slammed shut. The only exit of the Thunder Shadow Palace was sealed just like that. A figure appeared at the exit and looked at them coldly. Lowly natives. As expected, the cultivators of the celestial pole ancestral land are all the same. Disgusting. Who gave you the courage to speak like that? Dingshi was furious. The flame dharma behind him swept out and engulfed Yi Tianyun. He didn't hold back at all. Just when they thought that Yi Tianyun would also be burned to ashes, an even more shocking flame shot out from the flames and engulfed Dingshi. In an instant, Dingshi was burned through. The terrifying flames continued to burn his body. Even Dingshi's companions were frightened by the horrifying scene. Those who played with fire were burned by the flames. What was going on? The power of these flames. Dingshi shook his body violently, trying to shake off the flames. By the time he shook off the flames, his body had already been burned. It was a horrible sight. Chapter 1865. Yi Tianyun walked over step by step. Dingshi's body had been burnt black by his flames, and he was shivering at the side. Dingshi felt a terrifying power surging out from Yi Tianyun's body. It was the power of a superior, a power that was absolutely above him. It made his bloodline feel powerless, and he wanted to kneel down and kowtow. This feeling was something he would only feel when he met someone at the level of Grandmaster Xing. But now, it had appeared on a nameless kid. Who are you? Kim Yunyong's eyes narrowed as he watched Yi Tianyun walk over. He had a bad feeling. It was the same flame, but it could burn Dingshi. Normal flames couldn't burn Dingshi. The snake scales on his body had amazing fire resistance, so it was naturally difficult to burn him. But now, it was easily burned through, which meant that the level of flames released by Yi Tianyun far surpassed Dingshi's flames. Who am I? Aren't I the lowly aboriginals that you speak of? Yi Tianyun smiled as he walked over. He glanced at them and said, What a coincidence. I didn't think that there would be two of you with the bloodline of the dragon race. As soon as he finished speaking, the five-colored Emperor Dragon's star dharma erupted, and an all-around suppressive force caused their star dharma to dim and lose its luster. Dingshi's and Xiao Shalong's star dharma immediately shrank back. As long as they had the bloodline of the dragon race, they would be crushed. The level suppression was enough to easily kill them. Dingshi's snake bloodline actually had the bloodline of the dragon race. Hence, when he met Yi Tianyun, he felt a sense of powerlessness. Yi Tianyun had only released a little bit of the five-colored Emperor Dragon Dharma, and it was enough to make Ding Shi feel powerless. The other was Xiao Shalong. He had the bloodline of the Earth Dragon, which was even more tragic. Ding Shi was just a touch. The Earth Dragon belonged to the same race. Facing the five-colored Emperor Dragon Dharma, the Earth Dragon Dharma actually shrank back. This is a unique stellar light avatar. You were the one who caused the phenomenon back then. When they felt this aura, they immediately knew what was going on. They knew that the previous situation was caused by Yi Tianyun. So, you're saying that you killed all the palace masters and guards in the Thunder Shadow Palace? Kim Yunyong's gaze froze. That's right, but there's no prize. Yi Tianyun continued to walk forward, step by step. He did not release any power, but the three of them were forced to retreat again and again. They did not dare to approach Yi Tianyun. Just his aura alone was enough to suppress them, preventing them from getting any closer. They were not only afraid of the five-colored Emperor Dragon, but also Yi Tianyun's terrifying aura. Yi Tianyun's cultivation wasn't much higher than theirs, but their natural sense of danger told them that Yi Tianyun wasn't easy to deal with. Why are you doing this? If possible, our celestial pole ancestral land can give you an extremely high status and abundant resources. I'll give you all the resources I have. No matter what you want, you can get it. Kim Yunyong was very curious as to why Yi Tianyun would do this. Doing so would only cause him to be hunted down by the celestial pole ancestral land. It's very simple, because I don't want to be your pawn. It's that simple. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, the one who tried to rope me in was the Thunder Shadow Palace Master, but I've already killed him. It seems like the negotiation has failed. Kim Yunyong looked at him and said, or, in other words, you've been planning to kill us from the beginning. No wonder you hid behind the door and closed the door. You knew that there was no way to send a message out, so you wanted to do it secretly. But it's useless. Even if we can't send a message out, we'll soon send more people over when there's no news from us. By then, I'm afraid there won't be just a few people. Maybe even Grandmaster Xing will come. By then, your unique star law will be useless. If you're sensible, surrender obediently. No matter which force you come from, as long as you join us, we won't pursue the matter of killing the Thunder Shadow Palace Master or killing the Fire Liar. All the formations in the Thunder Shadow Palace were set up very well. Even if there wasn't a shielding formation, there would still be a shielding effect. As a result, any message wouldn't be able to be sent out. One could only send a message outside. Or, there was a transmission formation inside that could be used to send a message out. I know about this. If you don't send a message back, they'll still suspect this place. I've known about this for a long time, but they definitely won't send a lot of people at once. As for that Grandmaster Xing, I think his level is too high. If he wants to send someone in this corner of the mountain, he'll only come over if there's a huge impact, right? Yi Tianyun looked at them and said with a smile, not only that, I also know what the three of you are plotting. Do you want to seal me off from all angles, or do you want to launch a sneak attack on me? Bring it on, don't waste time talking. Go. Kim Yunyong and the rest didn't waste time talking. They kept talking to waste time. However, they really wanted to convince Yi Tianyun. It would be great if he could join them, but if he couldn't, they could only use force. In the next second, the three of them quickly surrounded the area beside Yi Tianyun. The three of them had a tacit understanding with each other. Originally, they had a very close relationship. They often went through fire and water, so they had a tacit understanding when they fought. Just as they set up the formation, the star laws behind them were immediately released. After the three great star laws combined, they actually formed a huge fusion star laws. This fusion star laws looked very unique. A dragon and a snake coiled around a huge rock, and it could crush towards Yi Tianyun at any time. You're too naive. Do you really think your star laws are invincible? You're really stupid. If you give us enough time, even Grandmaster Xing will have to be wary of you. Kim Yunyong laughed coldly and said, to be able to suppress a demon with a unique star laws will be a small capital for us to talk about in the future. Yi Tianyun looked at their arrogant faces. Yi Tianyun shook his head and laughed. What a bunch of idiots. I thought you were different from Lei Ying Temple Master. Now it seems that you're all equally stupid. Now I'll let you know why I made you prepare for so long. The main thing is that it's all in vain. There's no point in letting you prepare. Yi Tianyun took a step forward and snorted coldly. All of you, back off. With a roar, the huge shadow of the five-colored Emperor Dragon burst out and instantly overshadowed their fusion shadows. Woo woo woo, the shadows of the Earth Dragon and the Spirit Snake were so frightened that they dispersed. They didn't even have time to shrink back before they were shattered by the five-colored Emperor Dragon's star laws. Phut. Chapter 1866. Xiao Shalong and Ding Shi weren't in such a miserable state, but they were in a terrible situation because they had gathered into a formation and their energies had fused together. Now that the two astral aspects had retracted, their strength had weakened, causing them to lose their balance. Kim Yun-yong didn't have any problems, so the energy he had released crashed into the two astral aspects and sent them flying. To put it bluntly, their injuries had been caused by their companions, not by Yi Tianyun. The two of them were sent flying, and the star apostles were dumbfounded. They had thought that Ding Shi and the others were heaven-defying enough, but they hadn't expected a mysterious powerhouse to appear out of nowhere and seem even more heaven-defying. I've already said that your levels aren't enough. There's no point in letting you prepare yourselves. Yi Tianyun laughed when he saw this. He had already predicted this outcome, and he had known it from the very beginning. What kind of combination formation was it? It was extremely effective in most situations, but there were also some special circumstances that would cause them to be seriously injured. For example, the current situation was the best example. They didn't need to expend much energy, and just the level suppression alone was enough to cause them to suffer. Obviously, they hadn't realized this and had thought that their astral aspects were being suppressed. If they released a little more, they wouldn't be afraid at all. Who knew that this wasn't just a suppression of bloodline, it was also a suppression of the same race. Being suppressed by the same race was the most terrifying thing. They didn't even have the strength to resist against someone with a higher bloodline, and they were forced to kneel on the ground. Yi Tianyun laughed as he charged towards Ding Shi and the others. As if he were stepping on ants, he trampled them to death with a single stomp. Even though they had been sent flying and could barely crawl back up, he crushed them with a single stomp. He didn't need to expend much energy to easily crush them. He couldn't help but want to laugh when he saw this opponent with the dragon bloodline. It would have been fine if it had been anyone else, but if it was someone from the same race, then they were basically giving away their star energy. Kim Yun-yong was fine. His name had the word dragon in it, but he didn't have the slightest bit of the dragon bloodline, which allowed him to successfully escape. However, this escape was only temporary. Now that his two companions were dead, wouldn't it be easy for him to take care of the rest? This is bloodline suppression. Just what kind of Dharma idol is this, to have such an effect? Kim Yun-yong was stunned. This was the first time he had seen his two companions being suppressed so easily without any resistance. That's why I said that you guys are too ignorant. Do you really think my star Dharma idol is just a decoration? If we hadn't attacked together, I would have had to expend more energy. But now, you've helped me and allowed me to get rid of you so easily. I have to say, I really have to thank you. Yi Tianyun smiled and walked over. The five-colored Emperor Dragon behind him surged, ready to fight at any time. Kim Yun-yong's cultivation was at the middle stage of the Star Master realm, which was a realm higher than Yi Tianyun. His battle prowess was also a notch higher. However, this advantage in cultivation was nothing to Yi Tianyun. Kim Yun-yong's face was gloomy, and the golden rock star idol behind him suddenly expanded. Layers of giant rocks stacked on top of each other, and a heavy energy pressed down on the surroundings. The gravity of the entire space rose sharply. The star disciples had just stood up when they immediately felt a terrifying power pressing down on them from above, forcing them to kneel on the ground. Some of them were even lying on the ground, unable to move. They were elites from the lower world, but now they could not even stand up. Previously, because of the lack of management, they were all arrogant and thought that they were invincible. Some of them even fought with each other here. Now, all of them were kneeling on the ground, unable to even get up, which made them feel very powerless. Well, let me challenge you alone. Let's see how strong your unique star Dharma idol is. Kim Yun-yong did not back down, nor did he choose to escape. Instead, he chose to fight head-on with Yi Tianyun. In the next second, he rushed toward Yi Tianyun and instantly appeared in front of Yi Tianyun. In a fight between experts, this distance could be covered in an instant. Tyrant Rock Fist. He simply and crudely attacked with his fists. His fists were covered with giant rocks, and as his fists approached, the gravity around Yi Tianyun increased tenfold. If it were not for the fact that the palace was very hard, the ground under Yi Tianyun's feet would have caved in. Kim Yun-yong was most proud of this gravity effect. No matter how fast his opponent was, under this gravity effect, his speed would be greatly reduced. At the same time, under this terrifying gravity, his fists were like picking up planets and smashing them. At this moment, Yi Tianyun also swung his fists to meet Kim Yun-yong's fists. Fist against fist, it was the most direct and violent attack. Idiot, how dare you fight against my fists? Under the superimposition of my golden rock star idol, strength is not as simple as it looks. Cripple that hand of yours. Kim Yun-yong's lips curled into a cold smile. He could almost see half of Yi Tianyun's body being smashed into pieces. Boom. When the fists collided, Kim Yun-yong's smile immediately froze. Then, he felt his fist crack inch by inch. Following that, his arm, shoulder, and everything else started to turn into stone fragments that floated to the side. How could this be? Kim Yun-yong was sent flying by the punch and smashed into the hard wall, causing a cloud of dust to rise. What golden rock star? At the end of the day, it's just a strengthened version of the fusion of the power of earth and power of metal. Does he really think he's invincible? A faint golden glow appeared on Yi Tianyun's fist. Similarly, he had mobilized the power of metal and power of earth. The final result was an indestructible fist that could shake everything. Crash! A figure rushed out from the dust and dashed toward the palace gate. Upon closer inspection, one would discover that it was Kim Yun-yong. After Kim Yun-yong crawled to his feet, he did not hesitate to run toward the palace gate. He knew that he could not defeat Yi Tianyun, so he could only choose to run. His broken arm had already recovered, and it was not difficult for him to restore his physical body in the blink of an eye. However, the injuries he had suffered were still reflected on his face, pale. Monster, he's really a monster. Run, run, run. Kim Yun-yong was terrified. He had thought that he could withstand a few blows from Yi Tianyun and even force him to retreat. Now, it seemed that he had been too naive. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Just the Star Dharma idol alone was enough to suppress him completely. Unless there was a huge gap between their cultivation levels, he would not be able to defeat Yi Tianyun. Hence, he chose to run. His life was more important. You can't escape. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed, and a bright light appeared in front of Kim Yun-yong in the next moment. His speed was several levels higher than Kim Yun-yong's. It was impossible to escape in front of him. Chapter 1867. Kim Yun-yong knew that he could not defeat Luo Yunyang, nor could he escape. He had never felt this way before. In the celestial terminus ancestral land, he could get whatever he wanted. His status was not low. He could manage most of his subordinates, and no one dared to disobey him. Now, he was beaten half to death and could not resist Yi Tianyun at all. Golden Rock Star, activate. Kim Yun-yong roared angrily. The golden rock star behind him quickly ignited, turned into golden powder, and was released. In the next second, his whole body shone with a golden luster. The gravity suddenly increased by several times, and the terrifying gravity effect became even stronger. Xing Tu, who was originally lying on the ground, was about to sink in from the pressure. Even his bones were making cracking sounds as they shattered bit by bit. None of the star apostles were standing. They were all lying on the ground, screaming in pain. After the explosion, Kim Yun-yong did not dodge. Instead, he rushed toward Yi Tianyun, trying to knock him away. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand and slapped. It was still a sharp attack, and the power of the five-colored Emperor Dragon was released. Boom! This time, Kim Yun-yong was not sent flying. His body stiffened slightly, but there was no injury on the surface of his body. It's useless. Get out of my way. Kim Yun-yong roared and knocked Yi Tianyun away. His attack had been effective, but now it was ineffective. What a strong defense. It seems that this is the effect of using his star power. Yi Tianyun felt his palm go numb. When he saw the golden rock star behind Kim Yunyong slowly dissipate, he knew that Kim Yunyong had used the golden rock star to completely release the effect of the golden rock star. This was the same as burning one's soul. It could release a stronger power. However, this could easily lead to irreversible effects. In other words, the golden rock star could not recover and would only become weaker. If he wanted to return to his peak state, it would be extremely difficult. This was not something that could be recovered by consuming medicinal pills. Therefore, unless it was a critical moment, he would not be willing to take out his star aspect. However, the result was just as expected. With his powerful defense, Kim Yunyong could be said to be invincible. Yi Tianyun's attacks were completely useless against him. However, Kim Yunyong didn't want to waste any more time with Yi Tianyun. He knew that he wouldn't be able to hold on for too long with his star aspect. His current goal was to quickly escape from this place and rush out in one breath. Boom! Kim Yunyong slammed the door of the palace with a deafening sound. However, the door was not knocked open. It was only slightly opened. The door was slightly secured by Yi Tianyun, so it would take some strength to break it open. At this moment, Yi Tianyun had already caught up with him. He swung his palm at Kim Yunyong. The fierce five-colored emperor dragon roared angrily and charged at Kim Yunyong. Kim Yunyong completely ignored it and allowed the attack to land on his body. His foundation, the golden rock star, was to strengthen his body's defense, not his power. Therefore, his counterattack was useless. It was better to just keep slamming the door. Boom! The sound of a palm striking a bronze bell rang out. Kim Yunyong was sent flying by the palm. He slid a long distance back, and a faint palm print appeared on his body. Cough, cough, cough. Kim Yunyong's eyes were filled with fear. I have already taken out my golden rock star. How can you still hurt me? It could only be said that Yi Tianyun's strength was too strong. He had injured Kim Yunyong, who was almost invincible, with a single palm strike. You are really hard. I wonder how many palm strikes you can take. Yi Tianyun's palm surged with dragon power. He was ready to attack again at any time. It had to be said that Kim Yunyong was too hard. If it were any other cultivator, he would have exploded with one palm strike. He had activated Crazy Mode and stacked the five-colored Emperor Dragon's Star Dharma power. With both stacked, he had finally hurt Kim Yunyong. From this, it could be seen that Kim Yunyong's Star Dharma power was really too hard. An ordinary Star Master would not be able to hurt him. At least a Star Master in the late stage, and a very strong one at that, would be able to hurt Kim Yunyong. However, that was all. To completely break through Kim Yunyong's defense, one would need to be at the Star Master level. This was the effect of taking out the Star Dharma power. For a short period of time, a Star Master's defense would be invincible. Kim Yunyong paused for a while, then once again crashed into the palace's door, completely ignoring Yi Tianyun. Open all out. Kim Yunyong clenched his teeth. Even the soul in his body was boiling and burning, raising the power to the maximum. In an instant, his power increased explosively again. His body emitted a dong-dong-dong sound. Layers of thick golden rocks attached to his body, becoming even harder. Yi Tianyun did not dodge this time. Instead, he faced it head-on. He stretched out his hand and continued to slap. Dong. This time, Yi Tianyun was knocked away. The web between his thumb and forefinger was numb. On the other hand, Kim Yunyong was completely fine. He continued to crash into the palace's door like a huge mountain. After crashing fiercely again, an opening was finally made in the door. Kim Yunyong took the opportunity to slip out. After Yi Tianyun steadied himself, he quickly chased after him. You can't escape. Yi Tianyun turned into a gust of wind and instantly caught up with Kim Yunyong. Kim Yunyong's defense was strong, but his speed was too slow. Yi Tianyun easily caught up with him. Dong dong dong. This time, Yi Tianyun continuously slapped Kim Yunyong a few times. However, that was all, and he was not injured. It's useless. No one can break through my defense. Unless Star Master comes, No one can break through it. Kim Yun-yong laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with disdain. Your power is not bad, but it's still too far away. What unique star Dharma power? In the end, you still can't hurt me, right? He couldn't hold on for too long in this state, but he could still hold on for a while. He wasn't worried that Yi Tianyun would break through his defense. Kim Yun-yong wasn't afraid of being beaten up. Anyway, Yi Tianyun couldn't kill him now. In the short term, he wouldn't be able to hurt him. Under the double eruption, it was really hard to resist. This time, Yi Tianyun didn't attack immediately. Instead, he stopped and looked at him. Is that so? Then I'd like to see how strong your defense is. Immediately, the five-colored Emperor Dragon Dharma power behind him suddenly soared. In an instant, Yi Tianyun turned into a huge five-colored Emperor Dragon that reigned over all living things. When the divine dragon was born, all beasts would worship it. Roar! The dragon roared. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tianyun turned into the five-colored Emperor Dragon and descended into the world. Chapter 1868. After Yi Tianyun transformed into the five-colored Emperor Dragon, the domineering power of the true dragon enveloped the area. Fortunately, there were no demonic beasts around. Otherwise, they would have knelt and trembled in the face of this aura. Even those who were not part of the dragon tribe had to kneel in the face of this heaven-defying aura. This. Kim Yun-yong was dumbfounded. They could not transform into the power of the star Dharma body. To achieve this, one needed to have an extremely high degree of compatibility. In other words, one needed to have perfect communication with the power of the stars above. There were very few people who could do this. At most, they could communicate with 1/5 of the stars. Those who could achieve more than 50% compatibility could transform into the star body. As for those who could communicate perfectly and achieve perfect compatibility, there was no need to talk about the effects. However, those who reached this stage were few and far between. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and chiline horns. It could be said that those who had star Dharma bodies of level 4 or 5 and above were not very capable. Those who could achieve perfect compatibility with these high-level star Dharma bodies were the real expert. What shocked Kim Yun-yong was that Yi Tianyun had achieved such a high degree of compatibility only after obtaining the star Dharma body. This was something he could not believe. He had possessed the star Dharma body for many years, but his compatibility had always been at 2/5, not even 50%. As for transforming into the star body, he was still a little short. Now, he could only show half of the star body. According to legend, after achieving perfect compatibility with the star body, the golden rock star would have a perfect absolute defense and reach a truly invincible state. Even if Grandmaster Xing or a Star Lord came, they would not be able to break it. During the release period, no attack would have any effect. This was equivalent to being in an invincible position. No one could hurt him. However, he only had less than half of the effect, but the effect was still very shocking. His amazing defense could not be broken by anyone below the level of Grandmaster Xing. However, compared to Yi Tianyun, his compatibility was much worse. In particular, the higher the level, the more difficult it was to improve the compatibility. This was like a pet that was difficult to tame. It would take a long time to achieve a higher degree of compatibility. Therefore, he was shocked by Yi Tianyun's state. It would take at least 10,000 years for Yi Tianyun's star Dharma idol to reach a decent level of compatibility. However, it had only been a few years since the last appearance of the star Dharma aspect. How could it have reached such a state already? This is impossible. He can actually transform into the star body. Kim Yun-yong stared blankly at Yi Tianyun, his heart filled with shock. Dragon descends to the world. Yi Tianyun stared down at the land with an arrogant gaze. A huge dragon claw pressed down, enveloping the entire world. Kim Yun-yong didn't even have a chance to dodge before he was flattened by the dragon claw. When he raised his dragon claw, the golden rock on Kim Yun-yong's body, which was said to be indestructible, was also smashed into powder. Now, Kim Yun-yong looked as if he had been stripped naked. He was lying on the ground covered in blood and there wasn't a single bone in his body that was intact. Although the physical body could quickly heal, it wasn't so easy when the soul was injured. Cough cough cough, as expected of the unique power of the star Dharma power. After transforming into the star body, your power is already at the level of Master Xing. Kim Yunyong laughed bitterly and said, "It seems that I can't escape, but you can't escape either. I have already transmitted the information here, even your appearance and aura have been transmitted. You can't escape." Yi Tianyun reverted to his original form and transformed into the 5-colored Emperor Dragon, which consumed a lot of energy. He came to Kim Yunyong's side and said with an indifferent expression, "Oh, I expected this. You rushed out so anxiously because you wanted to ask for support. Then you wanted to waste my time and wait for your support to arrive." He had seen through it from the beginning. This guy couldn't escape from his control, so he could only ask for support. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so calm later on and would fight him head-on. It's useless even if you know, cough cough, wait for your death. No matter which force you escape to, you will be hunted down. Kim Yunyong laughed loudly. Even if he died, he would dare to face it. Really? What if I choose to join the celestial terminus ancestral land? Wouldn't you die in vain? Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Kim Yunyong's smile froze. This was really not a problem. As long as Yi Tianyun chose to join, the higher-ups would ignore the loss and immediately recruit him for their own use. After all, an existence with a unique star Dharma power was really much stronger than them. Not to mention the death of one palace master, even if 100 palace masters died, it wouldn't matter. After all, Yi Tianyun alone was equivalent to thousands or even tens of thousands of palace masters. Powerful strength was the best guarantee. Of course, I won't join your disgusting celestial terminus ancestral land. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, no matter how many reinforcements come, I will kill them one by one. No matter how many comes, I will kill them all. Ha ha ha, really ignorant. Just because you can deal with me and transform into Xing Chen, you think you are invincible? Kim Yunyong seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world and laughed loudly. One Grandmaster Xing can slap you to death. Not to mention our celestial terminus lord, he can crush you to death with one finger. When Yi Tianyun transformed into Xing Chen just now, his strength had indeed reached the level of Grandmaster Xing. Otherwise, it would really be difficult to break through Kim Yunyong's defense. However, he was only at the initial level of Grandmaster Xing. Moreover, he was at the level of Grandmaster Xing who didn't use star Dharma power. The gap between the two was like a chasm, not that easy to deal with. Of course, if you beg for mercy like a dog, I will let you off immediately. I really hope you won't beg for mercy. Kim Yunyong laughed coldly. He couldn't wait for Yi Tianyun to die. As for adding another powerhouse to the celestial terminus ancestral grounds, he didn't care about that at all. Right now, he only wanted to kill Yi Tianyun, but he couldn't do it with his current strength. It was difficult for him to even get up now. Don't worry, I will never beg for mercy. It's just that you won't be able to see it for the rest of your life. Yi Tianyun stepped over Kim Yunyong and crushed it, easily killing Kim Yunyong. Successfully killed Kim Yunyong. Obtained 128,000 star energy points. Obtained Golden Rock Planet and Golden Rock Armor 128,000 star energy points. As expected of a mid-stage Star Master, Yi Tianyun was very satisfied. That much star energy would be enough for him to break through again. It would be extremely difficult for others to break through, but for him, it was extremely easy. Looks like this is going to be troublesome. I've already reported everything. I wonder what kind of powerhouse will be sent. Grandmaster Xing? Yi Tianyun clenched his fists and looked up at the void in the distance. He calmly said, no matter how many come, I'll destroy them all. Chapter 1869. Yi Tianyun did not choose to leave. He did not dare to gamble that he could not find out what was going on. After all, among so many worlds, only his world did not have an artifact spirit. If there were no problems, he might not have to guard this place. However, there were no IFS. He had already destroyed the artifact spirit. If he did not destroy the artifact spirit, the rules would be the same as before, which was something he did not want to see. There was no such thing as regret in his dictionary. What was done was done. Even if it was wrong, it had to be done to the end. Moreover, he did not do anything wrong. He did not want to be a slave. There was nothing wrong with what he did. Especially if he became a slave, and he would definitely die. This kind of slave was obviously the kind that would exhaust you to death. It would take tens of thousands of years just to exchange for freedom. If you made some contribution, you would be sent to the danger zone. Wouldn't you be doomed? If you really survived, you could only say that you were lucky. Then, Yi Tianyun told the star apostles to leave this place. The longer they stayed, the more dangerous it would be. After all, when the experts came, they would not care about other lives. They had always treated lives like dogs and would kill at will. Naturally, they would not care about these low-level star apostles. After knowing the truth, the star apostles left obediently. They were angry, but there was nothing they could do. I wonder what kind of experts will be sent. Yi Tianyun did not hide in the palace, but outside it, just like before. He had to observe the situation. Anyway, he could use the teleportation divine stone to enter. If the chaotic realm was checked, it would be dangerous. He would use the teleportation divine stone to kill as many people as he could. At the very least, he would take a group of people with him. He could not go in, but once the formation was opened and people went down, he would be able to kill them. By then, he would save as many people as he could. However, this was just a pessimistic thought. He hoped that they would not find out. At the same time, a group of elders and deacons from the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land jumped up. After hearing the news, they were all dumbfounded. The genius with the unique star Dharma is hiding in the Thunder Shadow Palace. That's strange. Why would he be in the Thunder Shadow Palace? Where did he come from? Which corner did he come from? Could it be that he came from the lower bound? Impossible. How could those trashy natives from the lower worlds have such a powerful Dharma idol? None of them believed that a unique Dharma Laksana, which had appeared out of nowhere, had come from the lower worlds. They refused to believe it no matter what. All along, the talent of the star disciples in the lower realm was obvious to all. The highest talent was only at the second level, and those at the third level were extremely rare. If they were to believe that he came from the lower realm, they would not believe it no matter what. They would only believe that he came from another faction. As for killing the Lei Ying Temple Master, they had no such thoughts. They were all focused on how to recruit Yi Tianyun. Then we'll send someone to recruit him now. I heard that he's quite resistant. Could it be that he has a grudge against us? No matter what kind of grudge you have, if you offended him, drag all of them out to apologize or pay with their lives. This was a unique star Dharma idol. That arrogant ghostly ancestral land, with a level 6 star law idol, is so arrogant that we can't even breathe. That's right. A unique star Dharma idol is even more heaven-defying. That's a legendary existence. No matter the cost, we must recruit him. All the elders were determined to recruit him at all costs. Even if any of their disciples offended him, they would drag them over to apologize or even pay with their lives. This was what it meant when one's talent was not good enough. They were like ants that could be killed at will. That's enough, we can't let him live. At this time, an elder walked out. When the other elders saw him, they bowed respectfully and shouted, "Greetings, Great Elder Yarrow Yuan." They were very respectful of Great Elder Yarrow Yuan. As a great elder, his strength was definitely not weak. He had reached the peak of the Star Master level and was half a step into the Star Lord level. It could be said that he belonged to the strongest level apart from the Celestial Terminus Lord. If he was not strong, he would not have become a Great Elder. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan nodded. He was very satisfied with their attitude. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan, why is that? He is an existence with a unique star Dharma idol. He will definitely be a demon in the future. Immediately, an elder stood up and asked. Such a demon genius had to stay no matter what. We can't let him live. If he stays, he will be a scourge. He might even be a spy from another faction. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan smiled coldly. I believe that the palace masters and the subordinates they sent there must have tried to recruit him, but they were all killed. Either he has a grudge with our Celestial Terminus ancestral land that cannot be resolved, or he is a spy from another faction. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan's words made sense. After everyone heard them, they all nodded. Does the celestial terminus lord know about this? One of the elders could not help asking. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan's gaze turned cold as he stared at that elder. That elder took a few steps back, cold sweat dripping down his forehead. The celestial terminus lord is in closed-door cultivation for now. However, I believe he will make the same decision. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan waved his hand and said, I will take responsibility for everything. Send someone to kill him now. There is no need to capture him alive. The elders exchanged looks and nodded. This person should be a middle-stage Star Master or a late-stage Star Master. If he can kill Kim Yun-yong, he must be a middle-stage Star Master or a late-stage Star Master. Then send someone at the Star Master level to suppress him. Should we send 2 law enforcers? The elders were all Star Masters. However, the law enforcers had always been responsible for patrolling the major areas. Their cultivation was at the early stage Star Master level, so they could deal with many emergencies. In their opinion, it should not be a problem for them to deal with Yi Tianyun. Especially since they were sending 2 law enforcers, it would be enough. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan shook his head and said sternly, Do you think it is bad to have only 1 Star Dharma idol? Send out all the law enforcers. All the law enforcers? The elders gaped in shock, and then one of them said, If that's the case, there will be 5 of them. That will leave the other areas of the ancestral land unsupervised. If you think it is too many, you can go personally. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan looked at them sharply. The elders shook their heads. They wanted to go personally if they wanted to recruit him, but they were not willing to kill him. It would be great if such a monstrous genius could become their disciple. It would be a pity to kill him. They did not want to see such a scene. In the end, they decided to send 5 law enforcers and the meeting ended. After the elders left, Great Elder Yarrow Yuan sat on a chair and said coldly, I don't know where he came from, but it is better to kill him. If he is alive, he will only fight with me for the position. Chapter 1870. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan's selfishness could be seen everywhere in the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land. Ordinary low-level cultivators could be ignored, but high-level cultivators, such as Great Elder Yarrow Yuan, would be very vigilant. Those with unique Star Dharma forms would usually become Star Lords, who were the masters of the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land. Under normal circumstances, if there was no threat, Great Elder Yarrow Yuan would definitely succeed. Now that a monstrous genius had appeared, it would be a great threat to him. He would definitely want to get rid of such a great threat. According to his talent, Yi Tianyun would definitely inherit the position of Star Lord. Even if his current cultivation was not as high as his, what about hundreds or thousands of years later? Monstrous talents could advance by leaps and bounds, especially when combined with huge resources. It would be normal for them to surpass him. In particular, the Empyrean Terminus Lord would not be in a hurry to abdicate. When he did, Yi Tianyun would definitely surpass him. Even if he didn't surpass him, he would smoothly become the successor. After all, with his talent, he would have greater achievements in the future. It was needless to say who the Empyrean Terminus Lord would choose. No matter what his purpose is, this guy must be eliminated. Great Elder Yarrow Yuan had sent out 5 law enforcement patrollers, which was quite a big move. He hoped to eliminate Yi Tianyun completely, so he had sent out so many law enforcement patrollers. He didn't want any loopholes. 5 Star Masters were dispatched. The weakest was an early-stage Star Master, and the strongest was a middle-stage Star Master. This was definitely a lineup without any loopholes. Even if the opponent was a Star Master, it would be able to suppress them. While they were planning to send people to eliminate Yi Tianyun knew nothing about it. He just hid and waited. He didn't have to wait too long. Soon, star boats flew over. This time, there were 2 of them, and they arrived almost at the same time. However, they came from different directions and landed outside the Thunder Shadow Palace at the same time. Soon, figures walked out of the starboats, imposing and domineering. A sharp murderous aura spread out in all directions. Deep in their eyes, there was a scarlet light flashing, and there was not the slightest smile on their faces. They were all law enforcement patrollers of the Empyrean Terminus ancestral land. For example, if there were any conflicts between Star Apostles or Star Masters, As long as there were conflicts, they would all be killed. This was especially so for those star apostles from the lower domain. They had killed countless people who disobeyed their orders. Although they had the slave imprint, there were still some who didn't follow the rules. They acted recklessly without orders. For example, they would kill other star apostles, secretly hide various kinds of ores, or rush to kill other local cultivators. After all, without an order, the slave imprint would not take effect. Under such circumstances, some of the star apostles went crazy. It was not impossible for them to kill some local cultivators before they died. Then there were the treasures that were hidden away. This could also be triggered and killed. In short, any star apostle who violated the rules would be killed without mercy. The star apostles who had ascended from the lower domain had set many rules. Violating any one of them was a capital offense. As enforcers, they would punish those star apostles who violated the rules. They did not know how many star apostles from the lower worlds had been killed like chickens and dogs. Enforcer Dark Ghost, you're here too, one of them said expressionlessly. Yes, Enforcer 2U. I just arrived too. I heard that all the law enforcement patrollers were gathered here to kill a young man with a star Dharma form. His cultivation is only in the late stage of Star Master. Isn't this too exaggerated? Even if he has a star Dharma form, there is no need to go to such lengths, right? The Enforcer Dark Ghost shook his head and looked around the Thunder Shadow Palace in front of him, in case he missed anything. That's right. Why didn't you send me here alone? I'd be happy to kill a demon with a star Dharma form. The Enforcer 2U smiled sinisterly. A star Dharma form. Unfortunately, no matter how strong the star Dharma form is, if your cultivation is too low, you won't be able to use it. Tearing a demon apart bit by bit is still a great sense of achievement. The Enforcer Dark Ghost agreed deeply. He nodded and said, it is indeed exaggerated, especially when we have to wait for everyone to arrive. Do they think this young man is a prehistoric giant beast? His cultivation is so low. What can he do? The Enforcer 2U shook his head. I really don't know what the higher-ups are thinking. We can only act after everyone has gathered. The other 3 enforcers are so far away. I don't know how long it will take for them to rush here. By the time they all arrive here, I'm afraid they will have run away. Why don't we act now? It's a waste of time if we continue to wait like this. The Enforcer Dark Ghost was impatient. In his opinion, the 2 Star Masters could easily kill a Star Master in the late stage. With such a huge gap in cultivation, they could easily beat him up. Okay, let's do that. The Enforcer 2U smiled and said, when they come and find out that we have taken care of everything, what will their expressions be? This credit will definitely belong to us. With that, the 2 of them immediately acted. They first entered the Thunder Shadow Palace. As soon as they entered, they immediately saw a group of confused star disciples meditating. When they saw the 2 of them coming in, they all stood up. The Enforcer 2U stretched out his hand and grabbed one of the star disciples. He said coldly, where is he? Where is the cultivator with a star Dharma form? What cultivator with a star Dharma form? I don't know anything. That star disciple didn't know what was going on. How would they know anything about a star Dharma form? They hadn't even awakened the star Dharma form, so they naturally didn't know anything. Bang! The star disciple was squeezed into a mist of blood. Then he grabbed another star disciple and said coldly, do you know anything? Sir, we really don't know. Bang! Another star disciple was killed. It was as if they were slaughtering chickens and dogs, completely disregarding their lives. Even if they didn't know anything, they still had to kill him. They didn't even have any relationship with him, yet they still had to be killed. It seems that they really don't know anything. Did that guy leave long ago? The Enforcer 2U frowned. He had asked so many star disciples, but he didn't know a single one of them. Maybe he's not here anymore. It seems that we came here for nothing. The Enforcer Dark Ghost shook his head, feeling very disappointed. He had thought that he would be able to tear Yi Tianyun apart bit by bit, but he didn't even see a trace of him. What about this group of trash? The Enforcer 2U turned his head and looked at the group of star disciples, who were trembling in fear, with a hint of anger in his eyes. Kill them all. Just to vent your anger. The enforcer Dark Ghost smirked as he looked at the group of star disciples. He just wanted to kill them to vent his anger. Chapter 1871. When the group of star apostles from the mortal world heard their words, they felt a wave of fear. They had not done anything. Why should they kill them? However, it was at this moment that they realized that their strength was truly too weak. They truly had no resistance at all. Facing them, it was difficult to even have the slightest bit of resistance. The murderous aura of the two law enforcers was enough to intimidate them. Even though they had been through a lot and had risen from the bottom, the difference in their cultivation levels made them feel that there was little hope. Why should they kill us? We have not done anything wrong. We just don't know where that person is, and what does that have to do with us? One of them could not help but stand up. He could not take it anymore. Haha, we just want to kill you. Why should we care about what you have done wrong? Ridiculous. The law enforcer laughed sinisterly. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too weak. After saying that, he stretched out his hand and a dark energy enveloped the group of star apostles. He lifted them up and continuously extracted their energy and absorbed it into his body. As time passed, the rate of absorption became faster and faster. Their bodies began to dry up. Their essence was about to be sucked dry, so they naturally became shriveled. TSK, the taste is average. Your cultivation levels are too low, but it's better than nothing. Come to think of it, I haven't had a good meal in a long time. The law enforcer licked his lips as if he was tasting a delicious meal. His star Dharma form was the Nether Ghost Star. It specialized in absorbing other people's essence and blood and converting it into his own energy. However, if he absorbed too much, it would be difficult to convert it back. Therefore, he had to be careful and not absorb it at will. The cultivation levels of these star apostles were low. Even if he absorbed all of it, it would not affect him. Hihi, Law Enforcer 2U, it is rare for you to absorb so much normally. This time, you took advantage of a loophole and absorbed so much. How bold of you. The Law Enforcer 2U laughed and did not stop the Law Enforcer 2U. Usually, the Law Enforcer 2U could not do this. After all, they were a group of laborious and could not be killed at will. Now, it was different. They had not reported it and were considered unregistered residents. Therefore, it did not matter how they were killed. Aren't you the same? When the time comes, you can deal with the corpses. The Law Enforcer 2U laughed sinisterly. Enforcer 2U loved to devour corpses and absorb the essence of their bone marrow and soul. Thus, when the two of them worked together, there really wasn't a corpse left. One absorbed blood essence while the other devoured corpses. They were a perfect combination and could be called an evil duo. What a pity. If that kid with the star law was still here, I would definitely suck him dry. The Dark Ghost Enforcer revealed a pitiful expression. Such a high level of Dharma, it must be very delicious, right? While they were discussing, this group of star apostles was gradually sucked dry, and they were about to become dried corpses. At this time, a figure suddenly floated behind the Dark Ghost Enforcer. An astonishing light flashed and instantly crushed the Dark Ghost Enforcer's head, turning it into a bloody mist. Not to mention his soul escaping, not even his dregs were left. What was left was a headless body that fell to the ground. The floating star apostles all collapsed to the ground, unable to even get up. Who is it? Enforcer 2U was shocked. He didn't even have time to react before his companion was killed. All that was left was his body. He hurriedly looked in that direction, only to see a gust of wind blowing in his direction. By the time he reacted, it was already a series of killer moves. In an instant, there were hundreds of moves, forcing him to retreat. What an amazing speed. Although the speed was amazing, Enforcer 2U was still able to withstand it. At the same time, he clearly saw the appearance of the cultivator who had launched a sneak attack. The one who had launched a sneak attack was, of course, Yi Tianyun. While the Dark Ghost Enforcer's attention was focused on the Star Apostles, he immediately rushed over and launched a sneak attack on him. He had successfully launched a sneak attack on the Dark Ghost Enforcer and easily killed Master Xing. It's the unique Star Law. As soon as he saw it clearly, Enforcer 2U immediately felt the power of the unique star law. It was an existence that surpassed level 6, a level that was beyond reach. As enforcers, they were only at level 4. Compared to level 5 and level 6, they were at the bottom. In the face of the unique star law, there was no way they could compete with it. Even so, he still calmly withstood the killer moves. Each move was perfectly blocked, and he was even able to do it with ease. In the end, Enforcer 2U fiercely counterattacked and sneered. "That's all you've got." Boom. A black moon rose behind him, and a power that could devour heaven and earth enveloped the space. All the living creatures in the space were being devoured by him. As soon as the Star Dharma idol was released, its power skyrocketed, and it grabbed Yi Tianyun's arm in one move. "I've been waiting for you. Devour me and let me taste the power of the unique star law." A strong suction force surged from his palm, trying to suck Yi Tianyun dry. Enforcer 2U's ability was somewhat similar to the Dark Ghost Enforcer's, but his was more thorough and could even devour bones. "Do you think you can devour me with this little bit of devouring power?" Yi Tianyun snorted, and the 5-colored Emperor Dragon Star Law behind him roared angrily. The power of Enforcer 2U's star law stagnated and actually stopped. Taking advantage of this gap, Yi Tianyun flicked Enforcer 2U away, causing him to retreat a few steps. Yi Tianyun himself also flew backwards, and landed steadily on the ground with a cold expression. It seems that facing Grandmaster Xing head-on is still a bit strenuous. Yi Tianyun had raised his cultivation to the Star Master late stage, but there was still a gap between him and Grandmaster Xing head-on. He attacked with all his might, and with his crazy mode, he still did not have much of an advantage. Grandmaster Xing's power was indeed different. As the name suggested, he could use the star law more thoroughly. The explosive power was more than 10 times that of a Star Master. On top of the original foundation, it was more than 10 times stronger. How could he compete? If one wanted to compare who was stronger, assuming that the Star Master late stage had 100 points of star power, then Grandmaster Xing would have 5,000 points. This did not include the awakening of the star law, but purely the basic value. Therefore, after superimposing the star law, the power was even more terrifying. It was precisely because of this that they felt that even if it was the unique star law, it was still extremely difficult to surpass levels. It needed to be combined with all kinds of power to achieve the effect of surpassing levels and killing. At least they felt that it was difficult for Yi Tianyun to have this kind of power. He had just obtained the star law, and his compatibility was so weak. Naturally, it was impossible for him to achieve the effect of surpassing levels and killing. Obviously, they had judged wrongly. Yi Tianyun's compatibility was far beyond their imagination. Chapter 1872. After Yi Tianyun bounced back, he began to gather his strength, ready to fight at any time. 2U Law Enforcer also looked at him vigilantly. He thought he could absorb a wave of energy, but unexpectedly, he was bounced back. He couldn't even absorb a bit of energy, let alone absorb it. He could be called a miser who was stingy. "It seems that you have some ability. No wonder they couldn't stop you even after sending several batches of experts down." 2U Law Enforcer was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he looked around and said with a smile, "I don't know where you came from. Your cultivation is already at the level of a Star Master, but you haven't awakened the Star Law aspect until now. Awakening the Star Law aspect is not as late as possible. Obviously, you must have cultivated in seclusion somewhere. I don't know where your master is, but why did you awaken the Star Law aspect so late?" Their guess was wrong. Seeing that Yi Tianyun's cultivation was at the level of a Star Master, they didn't think he was from the lower world. In fact, under normal circumstances, it was impossible to see the difference between the lower world and this native land. Only when they found out that he was from the lower world did they feel disgusted. Especially since he didn't have the slave mark, they felt that Yi Tianyun couldn't have come from the lower world. When Yi Tianyun heard their question, his eyes lit up. It seemed that these idiots had completely regarded him as a mountain that had come from some corner. In this way, even if he left, they wouldn't suspect that he was from the lower world. However, he was still worried that they would check the worlds one by one. If they saw that the weapon spirit had disappeared, they would definitely rebuild it, which would undoubtedly be more troublesome. Is this important? Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. You won't try to rope me in like the others, right? Of course not, I was just asking casually. The higher-ups have given a death order. You must die. Tu law enforcer clicked his tongue and said, what a pity. Such a good talent, it's really a pity that you died like this. It would be great if you could transfer it to me, the unique star law aspect. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. It seemed that the situation had changed. He thought that the celestial terminus ancestral land would continue to rope him in at all costs. After saying so much to me, is this the reason you want to attack me? Yi Tianyun stomped his foot, and the five-colored Emperor Dragon Dharma rose up. With him as the center, the ground around him was swept up into a pitch-black darkness. A black moon bounced up from all directions. Unknowingly, the energy of the black moon had seeped into the surroundings, sealing off all escape route. It was impossible for the Moon Butcher Enforcer to simply want to talk to him. He must be trying to divert his attention and then secretly set up a formation to seal him off completely. Unfortunately, it was seen through by his appraisal eye. There was no special technique that could escape his appraisal eye. No matter how subtle the action was, he could see through it. Even if you find out, you're dead. When Enforcer 2 realized what he was thinking, he had already charged towards Yi Tianyun. His hand turned into a bony claw and grabbed towards Yi Tianyun. Even if you have a unique star avatar, your cultivation is too low. You will still lose. Is that so? Yi Tianyun smiled evilly, and his body made crackling sounds. Then, he instantly transformed into a huge five-colored emperor dragon, filling up the entire palace. The star apostles at the side were all stunned. Some of them had already hidden in the corners, or hidden in other passageways, and looked over. Dharma body. The Moon Butcher Enforcer was also stunned. Feeling this unparalleled power, an unprecedented sense of danger welled up in his heart. But it was all too late. By the time he reacted, Yi Tianyun, who had transformed into a five-colored emperor dragon, had already swung his dragon claw down. The strongest dragon claw power was simply and brutally pressed down. What dark moon space? What devouring space? Under this unparalleled power, they were all destroyed by the claw. It was not that the dark moon space was too weak, but that Yi Tianyun's power had an absolute effect that could suppress all other powers. This was the charm of the unique star avatar. It could suppress all star avatars that were weaker than him. Otherwise, there would not be so many people who would break their heads and rush to the higher star avatars. The key was that the difference in cultivation was not too big, which was why they could do this. Yi Tianyun's cultivation was a whole realm lower than the Moon Butcher Enforcer, but he had the crazy mode superimposed. With both superimposed powers, his power was enough to suppress the Moon Butcher Enforcer. In particular, there was also the Chaos Core, which complemented the five-colored Emperor Dragon's power perfectly. The Chaos Core contained the power of the five elements. This power flowed out and poured into the five-colored Emperor Dragon, releasing the five elements to their fullest. On top of this powerful foundation, there was also the 8 times damage of the crazy mode. In an instant, he surpassed Master Xing's early stage. Die. Yi Tianyun pressed down heavily with his palm, crushing all of the Moon Butcher Enforcer's counterattacks. He was crushed along with the Moon Butcher Enforcer, and his blood splattered all over the ground. Not to mention being alive, even his soul would be crushed. He wouldn't be given any chance to escape. Successfully killed the Moon Butcher Enforcer. Obtained 1,280,000 star energy points. Obtained Black Moon Star and Moon Butcher Divine Claw. 1,280,000 star energy points. Killing a Master Xing was indeed different. Previously, he had obtained the same amount of star energy from killing the Dark Ghost Enforcer, but it had not been enough for him to break through to the level of a Master Xing. Now, things were different. After killing 2 of them, he could immediately advance to the level of a Master Xing. The surging star energy points allowed him to level up too quickly. After killing so many cultivators in a row, he could even break through to the level of a Master Xing. Thinking back to when he was in the lower realm, killing so many evil spirits had given him very little experience. Once his cultivation increased, the number of points he needed to level up would reach an astronomical number. Naturally, it would be difficult to level up. Now that he had encountered someone with such a shocking cultivation, killing them still gave him that explosive sense of experience. Phew, Yi Tianyun returned to his original state and took a deep breath. Every time he transformed into the star manifestation, it still consumed a lot of energy. It made him feel as if he was being drained, which meant that he could not maintain this state for too long. However, being able to maintain it for a while was enough. At the very least, he had taken advantage of the other party's carelessness and successfully killed them. At the side, a group of star apostles trembled as they watched Yi Tianyun. They did not know if they would be killed. After all, he looked so savage, and who knew if Yi Tianyun would do anything else? Yi Tianyun could not be bothered to look at them. Instead, he turned his head to look outside the palace and smiled. Another enforcer has arrived. Very good.